Good morning, YouTube. Let me try to clean the lens here. It looks like the lens might be dirty. All right, I think it's a little bit cleaner now. I'd welcome you to the channel. As you know, I've been working on the micro camper, and you might be wondering why I'm broadcasting live so early. Decided to take the weekend to try to finish up this thing so that I can actually use it and maybe take it out for a test camping run. It's always important to test stuff before you actually have to use it. Because, like right now, I still have access to, Little Blue for components and parts. You can see poor Little Blue's stripped. Little Blue was, Little Blue is no more, or will be no more. So I'm taking components from Little Blue, the ones that can fit and be used inside of, this is the new vehicle. It's going to be called Good Vibrations because it is a Pontiac Vibe. Very nice vehicle. Got very high miles on it. So mechanically, it's questionable if I'm going to be able to actually use this to travel. Crossing my fingers on it. Setting it up just in case because I'm going to be without Blue. Blue's being retired. Okay. Blue has actually got nearly 400,000 miles on her. And still running great and everything, but issues with the undercarriage rust is making it hard to change the tires. And because of the situation and me planning on leaving, I'm getting rid of things. You can see I am, for those of you who are confused, I am actually living in an RV. So I don't know if you can hear the air conditioning running. I don't really, the RV is capable of being fully off-grid. It can run air conditioning off-grid, but for like only a couple hours. Because it's got like a 1,000-watt system, okay? But I'm here actually paid, with paid parking with electric and sewer and everything. So it's like a little house. So I'm living okay, a lot better than when this channel first started. Little Blue has kept me alive all this time, and I don't think it's so much been Little Blue, but the viewers of this channel. I do appreciate all of you who have helped me out and stuck with me through all this time to get me to the point where I am right now. At the verge of retiring early, believe it or not. And the reason for being able to retire early, despite my financial situation, has to do with me wanting to retire in Thailand, not the United States. Okay? If everything goes smoothly and I end up in Thailand, things will actually be a lot better for me, like 30 times better, because of the exchange. It depends on the dollar to baht exchange rate. As long as the baht continues to be lower than the dollar, my life is exponentially better. But if the baht goes up and the dollar goes down, I may have a problem. So cross your fingers on that. I'm crossing my fingers. In the meantime, I wanted to let you know why I'm scrapping this build. I'm not scrapping the idea of a stealth minivan camper. I am still planning on converting this. But if you look at it right now, it actually was coming along pretty nice. I started to cut components from Little Blue to make shelving and stuff like that. The drawers and stuff are already here, but by putting this here, and I was going to paint it, because I was going to make everything look really pretty, I didn't just want functionality. Functionality is number one, but form, how it looks and stuff, how it fits together, how nice it looks, is also important if you're planning on living it potentially full time, or at least an extended period of time. You don't want to look like you just shoved a bunch of crap into your car, which is what it would look like if you just put a bunch of cases in here and a sleeping bag. This sleeping bag actually has the nice mattress on it, but as you can see, the mattress is wider than a sleeping bag, so it's kind of crunched up and lumpy, which is fine. It makes the bed like super soft. And this actually works. This setup right here has like a bunch of drawer units. I also wanted to show you a little preview of the toilet, the bathroom system. Do you guys remember my air conditioner? Yeah, this is recycled. I'll show you how it works. Not right now, but, well, I won't do a live demonstration. But I will show you how to use the system so that if you have to, you can go to the bathroom in a micro camper, which doesn't have a lot of room. And I would not recommend doing this except for emergency, and I'll talk about that in a future episode. But any van that you're planning on sleeping in, living in, you need a bathroom, because if you don't have one, I know some, I can tell the fakers because they don't have bathrooms in their vans. especially if they're fake. Well, if they're living off BLM land or out in the woods and stuff, they don't need that because they can just go in the woods. But if they're anywhere near the cities and doing urban stealth camping like I am, they need a bathroom. And it's not like something you want to do or use all the time because it's inconvenient and it's also smelly. You're in your living space. But if you're a human, you gotta go, man. And you try to set your routine so that you don't have to use it. And I'll talk about that in future episodes. But it's there for emergencies because if you've been alive for any length of time, you've had bathroom emergencies. And you do not want a bathroom emergency while living in a vehicle. I can guarantee you that. But best to have a bathroom. So we'll talk about that later, but just want to let you know why the changes are occurring. You can see it actually looks pretty nice. I decided that instead of just putting the stuff down, because I was going to modular design, I actually mounted boards here so the whole unit can slide out. And then, even though this wasn't needed, this top panel was going to go on here. It looks fine like this, but see, then it looks kind of junky. It looks like a cheap build. It looks like I just stuck a bunch of drawers on there, which is what I did. This isn't really much build as assembly. But if you put this on top and screw it in and stuff and paint it, then you start to have like real furniture and it starts to look nicer. And somebody might actually want this build, like a single person, you might be able to use this build. If you're living by yourself and traveling by yourself, this is a really simple build to get together, to put together. You have access to all your stuff here, even though the drawers on the bottom don't open up because of the bed being in the way. But you take out the top, then you can access the storage compartment down below. So it's a really quick build with store components. I'm recycling parts from Little Blue as well as a new part I bought from Goodwill for like $4, $3 or $4. These drawer units sell for like $10 or $12 new at Walmart, but I got it for like $4 at Goodwill, $4 or $5. Saved me, $5. But anyhow, you might be wondering why, if this design works, I'm changing it. It has to do with the fact that I'm planning on traveling with my wife. So this is good for one person sleeping. And the original thought was I would take the modular units here, and it was that whole side right there, and move it to the front seat, which should take only like a minute or two, because you don't have to lift out each drawer. You lift out that segment and that segment, so it's in two pieces. So you only have like lift that, put it here, lift that, put it there, and you're done. Then you can take the bed and move it out this way. That all sounds good. It all sounds dandy, okay? The problem is, with my experience having lived in Little Blue for such a long time, even a little bit of movement like that, it's going to end up being a pain in the ass, in the arse, okay? to have to move things around, even just, what I described there is all that you essentially have to do. You just have to move these there, then lay out the mattress, and then two people can sleep in here. We're talking less than 5 minutes. But the reality is, if you're planning on living in this, which I am, okay, potentially, you don't want to do that. It's, and then, see, the problem is when you wake up, you have to come back and you have to get out of the vehicle and you have to lift all the crap from here and put it back up and put it where it belongs. So I know it doesn't sound bad when you're designing it. It doesn't sound bad even as you're building it and using it and saying, hey, it works. The problem is, if you do this every day, you're not going to want to do it. You absolutely are not going to want to disassemble the drawer units and move them up there and move them back every day. Okay? You won't do that. You will not want to do that. So I've had to make a decision on compromise, and I think you guys know what's going to happen. Even though I'm currently the only one using it right now until we travel, I'm going to make it so it holds a double bed, or close to a double bed, the whole width. That means this whole back area, when it's down, will be a big bed for two people all the time. Well, when it's down. And remember, this vehicle has other weird rules, like it's got to be easily converted back up to carry 3 or 4 passengers. Well, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, up to 2 to 3 passengers it has to be able to carry, in addition to continuing to function full time. So even more, restricted than Little Blue because it's so small. But here's what the plan's going to be, even though I did some work already, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'll see what I can recycle. I'm planning on lifting the bed up because, see, storage is kind of a premium on a vehicle when you're trying to live in it. So what I'm going to do, as sad as I am, I'm going to lift the bed up this width here, the height of the drawer unit, which is going to be about 10 to 12 inches. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it means that the clearance between here and there, between the bottom platform, and then you got the bed on top, which will be right here. The clearance is going to be about 2 to 2.5 feet versus 3.5 feet. Okay. So instead of 3.5 feet of living vertical space, I'm going to be confined to about 2.5 feet. It's 1 whole foot that you lose. And what it means is when you're laying down, it's going to feel like almost like you're in a coffin. But I don't really see a way around that if I want to have storage here. Which if you're living full time, you need storage. That's another way you can tell the fakers from the real ones, because their vehicles always look super pristine, but there's like hardly any storage in there. No place for food, no place for clothing, no place for tools, no place for storing things. And it's because they don't really live in it. Okay. They just film their episode, then they go to their house or the condo or whatever. But if you're living in it, it tends to look like this, like shit. It's a mess. You should watch, if you haven't seen Timothy's video, Timothy MoBang FoYoBucks, when he took his van, as well designed as it was, and went out for only like 3 or 4 days, he got to see what it was really like. And it turned out that even though he was super organized and had the system set up and so organized, watch his video and you'll see what his thoughts were, and they are true thoughts. He picked it up already, so hopefully his new designs will and not hopefully, I know he will incorporate in his new designs the lessons that he learned. And one of the lessons I can tell you this: do not make a build that requires you to move things around and reset it every day and every night. You are not going to want to do that unless you're only camping like once a month or something, okay? If you're living full-time, you want a system that is pretty much ready to roll. Should not take that long to set up, if at all. So I'm going to build a platform. The plan, the other reason for having a platform, I don't know if you can see this. I want to be able to carry big stuff like this. See, with the current system, I only have this little storage here. So it was hard to, it'd be hard. I mean, the chair fits. This is a nice little chair from Little Blue, and you've seen me use it in some episodes. But the problem with it is there's a table. I don't know if you guys remember my red table that I use for outdoor cooking and stuff. It would be hard to fit it here. Somebody said, well, you could lay it under here, and then the bed will be lumpy, and then you got to even out that other side, and then when you move things around, okay? So my solution is, like I said, I'm going to build a platform. So the bed's going to go from here to here, okay? I'm a little bit taller than my wife, so I can sleep on the long side, which has a little bit more room. She can sleep on the short side. There will be big storage space here to slide the chairs, or I might keep the chair here, I don't know. Probably slide the chairs. Slide the chair and, what else? The table. There's a table that will go under there. Maybe camping gear, like tent and some other stuff that can go in there too. Now, the TV itself right now was positioned to be low, because it was you were laying down a bit lower. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to move it up. I can move it up about another 2 inches here, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, which I might try first. Otherwise, I have to scrap this and rebuild. I have to rebuild this platform and move it in a little bit, or make a triangle here. Make a part that goes up, so that I can screw in the swivel, the arm swivel thingy. Because this has got to go up, because the bed, what's going to happen is the bed's going to be about this high right here. So it'll be up with the mattress. So I think I can lift this up just a little bit. It might be just enough to move this up another 2 inches on this platform. By the way, I did get to, I left this on. So the batteries are still connected right now. All the batteries are saying 12.6, so that's kind of low. Strain down, something is draining. Or All the batteries are 12.6 because see, it was turned on unless the connection got loose. That means the vehicle battery and the house battery are both drained. So I don't know why it's drained. I don't know what's on. It looks like the inverter's off. So let me see if that still works. Let's see if it does work. See if I can get the inverter charging, just to show you how the system charges up. I have not installed solar, and am really wanting not to install solar, just because then you lose the stealth factor when you put in solar. I guess I'll leave the AC on because we're not really driving, we're not charging, we're just looking. So the car is starting, and right now the car is generating electricity. That's the power of having a vehicle versus just a tent. You're actually driving around a generator. So the system is off right now, and you can see this says 12. Oops, that's input coming in maximum. It says 12.6. I don't know if you guys can see that. 12.6. I'm gonna turn on the switch, and it goes up to 13.2. So the system is charging now. And this is what you do to charge the battery bank up. When the battery is fully charged as much as it'll go through the inverter, not the inverter, through the alternator, the battery should read 12.8 or 9, 12.8 usually, okay? So that's how you can tell the system is working and charging. This is a solar charger, but no solar panels are hooked up. And it's just reading see, I only have lines going to the battery to do a reading. I can also take lines from here and connect out for 12 volts. And use this as a switch if I wanted to. Then the input here is for the solar panels to go in. But the car doesn't need solar, okay? The only reason for having solar is really to top off the battery at 100% all the time, which is actually a good thing to do if you can do it. The other reason for it is, let's suppose I were to go camping in the wilderness, like off-grid completely, and then gasoline conservation becomes important. So you don't want to be running your car to generate electricity to charge a battery bank unless you have to. So if I was totally going off-grid, like living on BLM land or hiding out in the woods or in the desert or whatever, okay, I would not want to run my engine too much. That uses gasoline. I would cook while I'm driving because the engine has to run. So you get free electricity to cook stuff like rice. But I would carry a butane stove, a small little butane or a propane stove system, and cook the meat dish to go with the rice using that instead of on the inverter, unless I'm doing a really long trip. Because then, you know, I'm burning gasoline anyways, might as well take the free electricity that I'm generating. But when you actually get somewhere and park, you really, you don't want to, see it says 13.9, it's like fully charged now. So I'm going to shut it off, and you can see that will start to drop back down. Because, you know, it means that no charge is coming in. Even though the vehicle is still charging the vehicle battery, it only takes a few minutes, honestly. That will drop back down eventually to 12.8, 12.9, which means the battery system is fully charged. You know, so that's how I plan on charging the system, doing stealth. I may go ahead and put a solar panel on here just to show you guys what it looks like with the solar panel, and I may try to get a storage unit there, but that's not really needed right at this moment unless I'm traveling and living out in the desert or in the woods or something. And then, you know, you got water issues and how much supplies you can get in here. But the build is pretty much keeping this power unit here the same, just lifting up the platform bit. So we will store big items back here for easy access, because this area here will open up. Okay, so just like Little Blue, I may give it 2 kitchens. We have the built-in kitchen up front at the front seat, which means you can cook with the rice cooker up there while driving. You could even use the butane or propane system there if you want to, you know, like on a rainy day. But honestly, if you're going to be cooking in a vehicle, I don't recommend it unless you have to. You know, like for stealth reason or for rainy days. It's best to go to a picnic park somewhere, pull your stuff out, and, you know, set up your butane stove and cook. Okay, or sometimes they have barbecue grills and stuff you can use. Okay, and bring the charcoal and, you know, dispose of it correctly. You know, make sure the fire's out and stuff, and dump it into the trash or whatever, wherever they let you dispose the charcoal. But when you cook in a vehicle, Okay, smells rise up, and then they start to cling to things like any cloth items and stuff. So, one way to mitigate that or to reduce it is to open your windows and stuff. When you're doing that kind of thing, so that the smells and the steam and all that can blow out. Which you'll see in action because talking about things, yeah, it sounds great, but when you do it, that's when you see if there's any problem. So this will be raised up. You'll have this whole area. I'll have this whole area here. I'm thinking I'm gonna put a drawer unit right here or right here. I'll probably put, I don't know where I'm gonna put the drawer unit. It'll be on the left or the right. Like one of these drawers. The big one. Then that leaves me a big slot, big enough to put the table in the chairs and stuff. And then, coming up front here, this is where it gets a little sad. I have to make the drawers and stuff, so I'll make it so they face out. So you have to open the door to grab stuff like some clothes, like, underwear, socks, shirt, pants, whatever. I'll probably make them accessible from back here. Okay? The other option is instead of drawers, make crates and then make this spot here flip up, which might be a better option. Or I can go ahead and make the drawers so you can slide it out if you want to keep the bed intact, and then make the top so the top can be removed and you can access it from inside. It's not the most ideal, but we're talking very limited space here because you got to lay on top of it. So I'll probably make it so you have drawers that you can pull out. So when you're standing out here, like at the beach, you can pull out your towels or whatever. The towels might be just hanging out. Or if you're inside, you can just flip it up. And then you can, dig down into the storage like that and pull it out of there. So that's an option. And the thing about it is, see, this area here has that seat. I don't know if you can see that seat there. This whole area where the seat bends, I have to make it so that it can detach so that the seat can go back up. And then that means the bedding can be flipped over and stored, in the back. The seat folds up and you got 1, 2, 3 seats. 3 adults could easily sit in here, possibly 4 if one squeezes here. That's if I leave this whole area open. Because like down here, people would say, well, Denoy, there's a lot of storage under there you're wasting. Well, the problem is I can't use that storage. I have to leave the seat so that it can be flipped up in case I have to carry 2 additional or 3 additional passengers. So you got to account for that. Otherwise you could have like a toolbox that goes down there or something, and when you have the passenger, you take the toolbox and you put it into the back. So that might be some movement, because you won't access your toolbox all the time, so you can put it under here. So when it's in camper mode, it's out of the way, and then when it's in passenger mode, you just put it into the back. And that's a potential idea to make it work. So look forward to that. It looks like it might rain though. I'm looking at the sky, and it is like, I don't know if you can see here, but it is kind of gray. There is a Hurricane Delta's like, I think, making landfall right now around Louisiana and stuff. So prayers for those people. But I think Florida's getting some of the after effects, some of the storm, the bands and stuff, or the changing cloud and weather conditions. So it may rain here. Me even getting up this early might not even be able to get this done. But my hope is to get this done by this weekend. Hopefully you'll see a broadcast with the stealth camper actually working. The other thing I have to make sure, just so you're aware, see what I was saying about clearance? There's only like 3.5 feet right now up here. I know it seems bigger. It might, especially if you use wide angle lens like they do on those van videos. But 3.5 feet is not a lot of room. That's just enough room to squat up. The toilet bowl seat thingy, it's a custom toilet that's basically a container. And I'll show you how it works and stuff. But it's taking me back to my roots of Asia, living in Asia when you had to squat to go to the bathroom. But I'll show you how to do that, how to use that system, so that all you have to do is squat. The problem I have to figure out is, see, you have to have room. And even right now with that, you have 3.5 feet, to squat. 2.5, 3.5. I don't know if you can do it in 2.5. If you can't do it in 2.5, that means that toilet, when you get to use it, you have to flip the mattress up, then lay the toilet flat down on the floor like it is right now, so that you get your full 3.5 feet of clearance. I don't know if you guys understand that. I'll show it to you, although I'll fake going to the bathroom. You're not gonna see it live. But The fans will still stay where they are. Basically, same layout, just a bigger bed. The bed will always be made for 2 people. Storage will be under the bed. We're giving up a little bit of vertical space is all we're giving up. And we're not, like, we pull into a campground, we pull into where we want to camp. I don't have to get out and move all this crap. I know you're saying, it's only 1 minute, he's so late. No. You don't want, believe me, you don't want to have to deal with that when it's raining outside, if it's snowing outside, if you're in a parking lot somewhere trying to stealth camp. Okay. You don't want to have to do it somewhere and then drive to your location. You want to be able to just pull in. Nobody even knows anything. And you'll notice I left the front open there, the little crawl space there. That exists because I do believe that good design will allow you to easily crawl from the cockpit to the living space. And that's what that is. It's a little crawl space. You know, you have to be almost like a contortionist when you live in a tiny space. But, oh, great. Draining. It's raining. I don't know if you can hear the raindrops. So no work this morning. I got up at 7 a.m. ready to do the build because I'm like, it needs to be done this weekend. And now the rain is pouring. So no build because even after the rain stops, it's going to be wet. And that means hard to cut. Poor little Blue is now... I'm thinking of actually keeping her here for a while to use as storage. You know, I got this big shed, basically, to store stuff while I'm doing construction. You know, that's been one of the powerful things of having access to where I'm doing the build is I can pull stuff off and use it as I work and actually have storage. So when it rains, which it's doing right now, I don't have to deal with it. And that's what it's looking like. Bonus for you guys wondering what's going on with the RV. It is a huge mess right now, as always. But, you know, this is a temporary thing because I got parts of Blue in there now. I am... just want to show you, for those of you who are curious, what it looks like. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, Big Dave says Blue's been on her last leg for many years. You know, honestly... I'll be honest, if somebody were, you know, able to lift this thing up, you know, like jack up on the axle, or there's like some solid parts near it right there to change the tires out, Blue probably has at least another 6 months to a year and a half or more of life in her, you know. But as for me, she's really served her duty very well. And, you know, my issue would be that solar panel. Sadly, I cannot fit it onto that roof. It's too small. And also, I don't want to cover up the moonroof feature. You know, that's a nice feature to have. You let air vent through, but you can also lay down if you wanted to, if I do it right, and look up. You know, so it's nice. But I may end up selling the panel as a used panel. It is raining now. I don't know if you guys can hear the rain, but it is time for me to get in. So you guys get to see my mess. It is kind of a mess. Well, not kind of. It is definitely a mess in here because I haven't been cleaning. I've been busy building and just prepping. Let me go ahead and turn the light on so you can see what's happening and the status of everything. What's going on with Blue in the build? All right. I had it clean for a while. The kids were here, but I ended up ripping out parts of Blue and just tossing it in here. Sorry about the focusing issues here, but you can see the front is where I've been piling a lot of stuff. I'm going to be getting rid of all the stuff like, you know, we have like little boats. I'll keep it while I still have the RV because, you know, it's fun. We have like rafts and boats and things like that you can take into the water, and of course life jackets and things. So that's one of the good things about, you know, being in an RV or living in a van is you can do a lot of outdoor type stuff. The TVs are all here. Everything's hooked up. I can run Roku on there, which means I can get YouTube, I can watch internet. Also, Pluto TV has started streaming stuff like HBO and stuff. They like Game of Thrones and some other stuff was available on there for free. Not the entire series, but like maybe the first season or something like that. But basically, this vehicle has so many TVs and computer devices. It's crazy. It's like very high tech. Okay, even though it's an ancient vehicle. I do have something that I bought that I never got to use. It is a dehydrator. I was going to dehydrate meat and make jerky as well as vegetable chips and stuff like that. So I might still do it because I have access, you know, right now power is not an issue. I have power running the AC, but you can see these ACs, they collect water up there in the top. Oh man, this is so not focusing because it's kind of dark in here. And I have the light off. I wonder if I can turn the light on. Let me try to turn the light on. Enable flash. There we go. Now we got flash. Hopefully it won't go out of focus. Hopefully you guys can see. Okay, so the phone now has flash on so you can see a little bit better. But basically, this thing collects water. It drips down. I made little holes and it drips into this. So every night, you know, when I'm sitting around or sleeping, it's like the Chinese water torture. I hear drip, drip, drip. So I'm eventually thinking of hooking up something here and letting it run again. You can see I started to do that with the old hose, but I need to make it a little bit more permanent and have it like run through, you know. But yeah, the RV is pretty much a little tiny house on wheels. I have microwave access. I have butane stove access. I have a little oven that I use. I don't know if I know the burners here work off the propane, the liquid propane system, but I don't use it. You know, I just use I don't even use the oven. It's like storage, you know, it's just extra storage. But basically I use the little system, the little canister, and that's just because it's easier. And I don't know the status to that, and I didn't bother checking it out. You know, it's one of those things that is a future project if you really want it, but I'm like, this works fine. Remember this RV is called good enough for a reason. We're not the Ritz, we're not the most perfect, it just needs to be good enough. And once I clean this up here, okay, it'll be a little bit more restful, because right now it's kind of cluttered. But you can see I've got like sound. This is an amplifier that I bought from, I get all my stuff from like Goodwill. I bought it for $5. It's an amplifier that will allow me to put in sound plugs from the computer and stuff, so I can like rock the whole vehicle. Because right now, before it didn't, you know, it used a built-in speaker on that computer, and it was so tiny. I got these speakers for like $5 Goodwill, and they're okay, but I want it even louder. So this is an amplified little thingy, you know, and it can have microphones and stuff, so I can do more things with it. But while I have this space, that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of playing around with computer stuff. I have 2-3 desktop machines. I have 2-3 laptops. Seems crazy, and it is, because I'm in very limited space. But it gives me something to tinker with. You know, I'm rebuilding the IBM ThinkPads to become retro computers, to run emulators, to turn it into like a VIC-20 or something, or a DOS machine to do some software development. So you're seeing also with the gaming stuff. For those of you who don't know, my original background, I was actually a software developer writing games and stuff. So now that I have kind of a place to sit and chill, I've been, you know, getting back into my roots, which is software development. And one of the reasons for that is potentially, if I decide to release new things, I could make some money, you know, enough to live off from the software if I can get some products sold. Just want to give you a little bit more tour here. The solar power system still works on here, okay? You can see it says the battery for the house battery is 12.9, 12.8. System is still on and charging, even though it actually charges through the 120 volts too. So, you know, the RV is designed so that when you plug into 120 volts, there's a switch that converts 120 volts to 12 volts, and then it runs it through the system to charge up your batteries. I did have starter issues the other day. The vehicle wouldn't start, but I did a lot of weird stuff, like changing batteries out and moving cables. Eventually it started back up magically. I don't know. Maybe it was just a loose cable or something, but we're going to have to keep this vehicle, you know, starting at least once a week just to make sure the engine runs, you know, because I had it sitting for more than a month without starting it. You can see my paint job's not done. So I'm basically having to do too many things at the same time, so I stop things halfway. But cluttering it with little blues, curtains, and drawers and stuff makes it look really bad. But this will be cleaned up here, hopefully, you know, by the end of this weekend. This is the table I'm trying to put into Little Blue. It is it opens up and becomes a huge picnic table. So mess. Okay, obviously a mess. The vitamins, that I was telling you about. Very good to have multivitamins if you are, I would say once you start hitting 40, you probably want to take something like this. You don't have to take this brand. This is Equates One Daily, which is the equivalent of once a day, the more expensive one. But it has like multivitamins. You know, this one has, gosh, vitamin A, C, D, E, K. Is it thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, folate. It has a lot of crap. It says it's for men, I think 50 and older, I think. But really, get one that, you know, get one of the multivitamin things like this that has everything on it. I think I bought this whole thing with 200 pills for like, I think it was like $6 or $8. Your health is worth $6 or $8. And some of you may not be thinking that it's a big deal, but I'm letting you know, if you have any aching issues like leg cramps and things like that, when I started taking these, the vitamins, this is the one I took actually, this one Daily Men's Health, the small one. See, but they keep changing it. I hope they don't remove all the good vitamins that actually, or minerals, that help to stop the leg cramps. Because leg cramp was coming back and I was taking this. So I'm like, I need to check to see if the mixture's the same. They might have removed something important, you know, that was stopping it. So the air conditioner there is a standalone unit for when I'm off grid and I just want to run air conditioning in the back room. You know, I can put it out the window. I think I might have showed it in some episodes where it's running completely off solar. The problem is my battery bank's not large enough, and my solar panel's not large enough to continually run the AC off it. So it can be used in an emergency. You know, like let's say you're just going to go for a day and you're going to sit in the back here for a couple hours. You could run that thing for about 3 hours, 4 hours without, you know, power being an issue if the sun is out. Okay, then you have to shut it off and let it charge back up. I do have mounts here for fans. I'm thinking of putting some what do you call it, shelving, so you got a little bit more storage. Of course, got this other little area here where this is my multimedia center, and of course I got the big TV here. It's like this vehicle has so many TVs, so many large TV screens and computer screens. This is my little workstation, which I'm not done yet, but it's got the computers and stuff that I bought. Remember the ancient IBM ThinkPads? I got 2 of them. I'm going to try to convert those to become emulator computers running Commodore VIC-20 and 64. Even though you could use DOS and stuff on it. I might even run DOS. But that'll be set up back here for development and testing and just playing with stuff, you know. I did build a little, bought a little, it was like a child's shelving and used that for the bookcase. I'm painting it white to match everything. That's pretty much it. Per Timothy's suggestion, I think I'm going to leave this wooden grain wall in the back. I don't think I'm going to paint the wall white. And I am going to eventually finish painting everything white. So you can see that we did the roof. It's not totally done. But once I get everything all touched up, the RV will look a lot better once it's all, you know, unicolor. Except for the back, which we're probably going to leave. Because it's kind of cozy back here with this wood grain. Now I'm going to take a moment here to look at some of your comments. Let me see here. Oh, just so you know how this works. This is the ladder that I built. Okay. It goes to the front, so when I have my kid, he can easily climb up there. But, you know, it's always nice to make things dual purpose. So this ladder actually can come back here like this. Just so you know what I do here when I'm chilling. I can take this ladder, and you'll see the little notches there. And I line this up. Then I push it under and lock it. So it just sits on the mattress, and it locks like that. Then you have a backing. Just wanted to quickly show you. It's not like a nice build or anything, because it says live, and I wasn't planning on it, but I'm going to show you what I do. I take one of the seat mattresses that aren't used, okay, and essentially I can toss this blanket on there if I want to, but I sit back here, and it becomes like a lounge, and then I can just watch TV from here, and that's how it's done. So the TV is actually a regular TV with HD antenna. So I can get on airwave TV. Let me see if I can get it to come on here just to show you the system in action. So we get the TV on here. And it's probably going to come on the computer. Because right now I have it on computer input. Alright, my desktop is really messy because I've been hunting roaches. those those of you in the know what I'm talking about, and the roaches definitely know what I'm talking about. But I might do an episode on that. But really, I'm pretty much done for them. I've pretty much exterminated them, most of them, and we'll have them completely wiped out here very soon because they just are like really dumb. But anyhow, this is my computer screen, which oftentimes I use it in computer mode because I play World of Warcraft back here. I can sit here and I have like my keyboard and I have my little mouse. It's not the most ideal setup, but it's enough to wipe out all those noobs, even with my level 6. So this is set up like this right now, and I'm trying to see. It looks like the Wi-Fi is connected to the phone Wi-Fi turned off, I think. So it's connected to the Wi-Fi for the RV park, which is terrible, so it probably won't pick up anything. But I can actually watch like Pluto TV on here, and then run it like almost like a cable TV. For those of you who don't know, look up Pluto, Pluto TV. It's a free service. And what they give you basically is like almost like classic 1980s, 1990s cable television. So it has like hundreds of channels that you can scroll through, and they have, some of them are on-demand videos, but they have classics like Greatest American Hero, Petticoat Junction. They have Miami Vice. I don't know if they have Miami Vice. They have Miami CSI. They also have channels that run stuff like Game of Thrones and things like that. Actually, I think that was on Roku TV. I don't have the Roku hooked up back here, so I can't watch Roku back here. But the computer's back here, so I can actually watch YouTube back here. And, do what I need to do when hunting roaches and stuff. But anyhow, I'm going to put this TV here into TV mode. Let me see. So we basically have the remote. It's just a regular TV. It has a source button. And I hit the source, and I'm going to put it on the TV mode. I don't know if you can see that there. Let's see if we pick up anything. Oh, I have to hit OK on this. Forgot. Let me try this again. See, I don't watch too much TV. So I put it on TV mode, and you can see TV's on. And we're gonna try to mute it before I get trying to mute this.
There's no obligation to enroll in a plan. Just good information.
Where the heck's the mute?
You can compare and make the
here's the mute. Okay. I didn't want to leave the sound on because I could end up causing a copyright strike, believe it or not. Unlike the trolls. I'm probably gonna do a copyright episode just to show people the real rules of copyright. If you're getting your copyright information from the trolls, especially trolls whose channels have been wiped out from copyright, that's not your best source. Okay, make sure you're getting it from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. And for those who don't know why I was able to easily take the trolls and stuff down, like I just decided to do it like last week and spent a couple minutes just going after them and stuff, and have removed like 7 or 8 different channels already of the content thieves. But basically I will teach you the laws of copyright, and they do change, so you want to stay kind of current with it. But the reason I know so much, for those who don't know why I know copyright, is I'm a software publisher. I make copyrighted games, okay? I deal with copyrights all the time. I'm a photographer. I deal with copyrights. I used to be a newspaper editor, for Pete's sake. And I was a technology specialist who had to deal with copyrights for the entire district or the school. So, they're sitting here saying, you can steal. It's so funny listening to this girl. What's her name? She goes by Sophia. But her real name is Sarah Ahmad. Okay, she's a Syrian refugee sitting here making up stuff and attacking people, but I won't even get into it. But the long story, the short version of it is this: she's trying to teach people how to steal content, and looking up all these wiki how to steal, and saying that I'm able to take advantage of YouTube's copyright strike policy and blah 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 because it's automated. She's a moron. Okay, that's all I can say. And while she's saying that and doing these videos on it, her channel's like being taken down piece by piece on purpose over time. But I'll talk about that. Also, I wanted to offer that service for you guys on Pay It Forward. Okay, I know a lot of new channels don't necessarily understand copyright, so we're going to talk a little bit about that probably on Pay It Forward. And I may go ahead and set pay it forward to help you take down stolen content from your channel. So if you're a small channel and you don't know what to do, pay it forward. I will be doing some episodes on there, probably on the copyright, because it doesn't really have to do with van dwelling, but it has to do with YouTube and trying to grow your channel. How to handle trolls, how to handle the haters and stuff, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's real and what's not. Okay, because there's a lot of misinformation because people are getting information from the copyright thieves. But then their channels are disappearing. So I'm like, your source is already flawed. So that should be a clue. Anyhow, let's continue on. Faith Walker says you got an 800-watt solar panel for $80. That's very good. And panels, the glass was cracked, but they worked. You know, the key is it just needs to work good enough. You know, let me try to change other channels here to show you what's available. We're watching some kind of infomercial. Let's watch Court TV. So, and see, this is just regular TV. This is over-the-air HD TV that I'm able to receive. And you can see I get a lot of channels here. So I can actually watch TV if I want to. There's, I don't know, maybe 30 to 60 channels. So, you know, if I want to watch TV, I can do that. If I want to play games, I can do that. If I want to watch cable TV, you know, I use Pluto as my cable TV source. That thing has, like, I think more than 300 channels. All this is free, by the way, and legal, okay? Unlike the content thieves and those people, I don't show people how to do illegal stuff. Everything I show you is pretty much legal. Some of it's a little gray, and if it's gray, I let you do that on your own. And when possible, like even with the copyright stuff that I'll be covering on Pay It Forward, I'm going to try to teach you how to do it yourself instead of relying on somebody like Pay It Forward to do it for you. And the reason for that is, one, it does take time on this end, you know, for somebody to do all that, because they got to track the copyright, and you got to file it a certain way because it has to be legal, because you're dealing with legal stuff. And the other thing about it is that it's better to know for yourself, because then you can protect yourself. You know, whether they say, give a man a fish and he can eat for a day, teach a man to fish and he can open up a store and sell fish. But anyhow, I am probably going to sign out. I'm going to go look outside, and if it's, you know, once it calms down a little bit, I'm going to work on that build, because I want it done this weekend if at all possible, you know, so that within the next couple weeks or months, you'll see me, probably within the next couple weeks, you may see me testing the vehicle out in the wilderness and other areas, because I want to make sure that that vehicle is actually going to be usable before I have to use it. And that's the key to preparing with these stealth vehicles, or, you know, even an RV and stuff like that. The system is, most of the electrical and other systems in the RV are pretty much working. You can see it starts to look a little bit more cohesive as everything is white. It'll look even better once I finish the actual painting and actually finish, you know, like the trim there. I just haven't, you know, really worked on it. MoBang says to do vitamin B1. You know, MoBang, you know, the VA, they subscribe, prescribe to me B12. So I might start taking their B12 in addition to the big supplement. So the B12 would be good for that kind of stuff. What else is there? Angry about the trolls. You see their comments. We do not. YouTube has an AI tone detector that zaps them to the public. Angry. That zone detector is me. I filter the channel, and I'll teach you about filters and stuff, and the kind of strategies the trolls in them do. You hardly see troll comments on here. Okay, very few now, because I automatically remove them. I block them. And that's why this is the story of how Denoy became so hated by this group of trolls. Okay, rats, roaches, or whatever you want to call them. I basically blocked them all, including those of you who have been got to witness a little bit of them. You only saw a portion of what they do to me, and I basically handle it through programming YouTube or whatever, to filter them, to block them, to automatically flag them. Then, because I'm getting ready to move and stuff and get this channel back to becoming a monetized, viable commercial channel, which means you're going to see some better content on here, hopefully. to get the channel back up to where it's making money, I have to remove all the trolls, the copyright thieves, okay? Because they're hurting business, because it's a business. So at this point right now, that's why I started cracking down on them. You know, I'm planning on retiring, and I need to basically get my stuff in order. So YouTube's going to be one business that will hopefully make some money, you know, and then the other one is going to be my software. And I'm debating if I want to do photography. And you're like, well, you know, you seem to be doing a lot. Well, stuff like YouTube takes a couple minutes, okay? And, you know, when I live stream like this, I make the video, it's done. And I may not make a lot of money, but if we multiply it by Thai bots, like what I stream and make in one day, you know, like I make one video, is what a Thai person might make in a whole day working. That's how bad it is. You know, I mean, it's not bad. It's good for me because of the exchange rate. Okay. So I can stream a video and possibly make, let's say I make a video on this and somebody gave me money. Let's say they sent $20. Okay. For, what do they call it? The super chats or whatever they have, which I don't really push on here. But if somebody did a $20, that's more than a Thai person makes in one whole day. Think about that. So they're out there working really hard, and it has to do with the currency exchange, you know. So I'm fortunate in the sense that I'm in America, working from an American channel, and my whole system is set up on, you know, US dollars and stuff. So I get paid in American money. Now, I don't know when you convert, you know, if they're going to charge me a rate for the conversion. So I don't know how that all works, but we're going to learn about it. I'll share with you as I do it, because I know there's some Americans or Australians or foreigners, Westerners, who want to be able to do stuff like that, you know, like vlog and travel. I've been following, you've seen me kind of silent a lot lately, because I've been watching all the vloggers and stuff in Thailand and Vietnam and some other, China and some other overseas countries. The reason I've been watching them is I've been studying, you know, I've been trying to learn how they do their stuff, because some of them are young. A lot of them are young, actually, in their 30s or 40s. And they're actually living off vlogging. I don't know if you knew that, but they're making a living just filming YouTube videos. And I don't know if that's what I really want to do, but it wouldn't be bad, you know. It could be supplemental income. And if I can do it in such a way that it's not like work, you know, like right now, you'll see a lot of my videos. It's not really work. I'm just sharing with you what's going on. So if I can get enough viewership, just sharing my life and, you know, what's happening in the situation and little tips on what I learn, and get enough people subscribing and watching the videos, it could become a revenue source without me really working. And one of the things I plan on doing when I hit Thailand is talking to those other vloggers, trying to see. Basically, we're trying to get everyone up to speed fast. Now, there is a potential problem with that plan for Westerners, you know, outsiders, Farangs, okay? Thailand has become very restrictive because they've been COVID-free now for several months, the entire country, like 0. Whereas America's like, I think we're getting higher and higher and higher every minute, which is, I won't even get into that, okay? But long story short, Thailand, the kingdom, hasn't had COVID in a couple months now, like 0. And they want to keep it that way. So, but the problem with it is the tourism economy had been wiped out completely. They shut them all out. So right now, a foreigner trying to get back into Thailand is very, very, very difficult. And I was reading on some of the, you know, the vloggers, they're there right now because they are not tourists. They're actually residents of Thailand. They're aliens. They're, you know, they immigrants to Thailand, basically. And they're from England, they're from Australia, they're from the United States. And they get a lot of followers because a lot of people, obviously, when you look around the United States and other developed countries, if you want to call it that, it's getting harder and harder to live. So places like Panama, Thailand, and maybe even Vietnam, the Philippines, possibly even Korea, they potentially become like attractive for somebody to want to move there. So they get a lot of followers. And right now I've been watching the COVID situation and what's happening to the tourism there, because that's, you know, a lot of those towns that they're at are tourist towns. I'm debating still where I want to live and stuff, because, you know, I haven't been there since I was a kid, and going there as an adult is going to be a little bit different. Right now, I'm learning to read and write Thai. I can speak Thai, but I can't read and write. So I'm trying to learn to read and write Thai so that I'm not illiterate. Okay, I want to get over there and I want to be able to read, where the bus is going or where the train's going, what the menu is, and see if I'm being ripped off. Because even though I'm Thai, American Thai, if they see that I'm actually more Americanized than I am Thai, I could get ripped off. But I doubt. I mean, once I speak Thai to them, here's the thing. The Farangs, the foreigners, end up paying more because they don't know how to navigate like a Thai person would. And for a Farang, like let's say they pick up, just to show you some stuff that I see that I crack up when I watch it, they will buy something for like 100 baht. Okay, they'll say, wow, this is a bargain at 100 baht. 100 Thai bahts is roughly $3. So they'll buy something for $3 and say, this is a really good deal. I got a great deal on it. For $3, because in America it might cost $15 or $20 for that same item, but in Thailand they got it for $3. For them, it's a great deal. But for a Thai person looking at that, I'd be like, hey, 20 bahts top. Otherwise, I won't get it. You can sell it to the francs, okay? But Thai people will not pay 100 bahts for that same thing. Now, as a foreigner, you will have that issue, if especially if you're light skinned or something, or even black skinned, darker than me, because it's easy to spot that you're a Farang. Okay, but if you're like me, Asian, they tend to not try to rip you off as much because they can't. But I'm going to try to show people how to not get ripped off. Some people think that you get ripped off just because you're an outsider. Now, you get ripped off because you don't know the locals and how the locals navigate. A local, even if they're Thai, if they go up and act like the Farangs, like dumb, they're going to get ripped off too, okay? So that's why it's important for me to learn to read and write Thai, okay? And I will tell you this, if you are a Farang wanting to live in Thailand, there are some really good videos on YouTube on learning to read and write and speak Thai. It's easier to speak Thai than it is to read and write. But if you can learn to read and write Thai, you will have less likelihood of getting ripped off. Okay, and if you can speak Thai fluently, like you don't sound too much like a foreigner, you won't get ripped off either. So basically, become Thai, just like in America. I went into Dollar Tree and I couldn't believe this lady tried to rip me off because she thought I was it was in Orlando. I don't know if I told this story before, but I went to an Orlando Dollar Tree, okay, to buy something, and because I look Asian, okay. The lady thought I was an Asian visitor to Orlando. She was a white lady behind the cash register. And I said, I didn't speak to her. I just gave her the item, which should have cost like $1 or $2. I bought like 2 items, I think. It was like $2, and I gave her $20. So she should have given me back like 17 something, with the price and change. She gives me back I think $5 and change. Okay, I gave her $20 on a $2 purchase. She gave me back $5 change and didn't say anything. And I looked at her and said, ma'am, I gave you a 20. I only bought $2. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a 10. Okay, so she says, I thought it was a 10, and so she opens up the drawer, and she takes the money back out, but I can see she didn't put the 20 with the other 20s. She stuck the 20s in a separate pile. I didn't report her, probably should have, but, okay. So if you think that just foreigners, when you go overseas to like Vietnam, Thailand, wherever else, Korea, Japan, or whatever, that you get ripped off because you're a foreigner, it happens here too, okay? It happens here too to the foreigners who come here. So that's a universal human asshole trait, thief. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens, and it will happen in Thailand, potentially, depending on where you go. It'll tend to happen more if you're around a tourist spot. And it's not so much happening around a tourist spot as, see, what Caucasians, what Farangs, what foreigners don't understand about Thailand, it's a bartering country. It's a barter country. So typically, unless it's changed since I was there, okay, in Thailand, the price that they put on something is not the real price. The prices that they put on anything is like a tourist price. So if they say something is 100 baht, you can barter it down, okay? I don't care even if it's a fancy store. You can go into a Thai store and it says $100 as a price tag. Not $100, 100 baht. And you look at it, they come and say, hey, would you like it? And you say, yeah, but how about 75 baht or 50 baht? If it said 100 and it wasn't really critical, it wasn't something I needed, and I wanted it, I might tell them 50 baht. But honestly, if it was really cheap, I would know it's not even worth 50 baht, and I wouldn't even offer that. But if it was something to me, I might offer 50 baht. They will usually go up to, like, they'll say 75 baht. I might get it down to 70, and that saved me $1. Doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're on a tight budget, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so certain things in Thailand can be bartered. I never see those tourists bartering. Okay, I never see them because they think that when there's a price tag on something, that's the price. And bartering even works in America. Even worked at Walmart. You're like, you didn't know you could barter at Walmart? You can, under certain circumstances. Okay, like I was in Walmart. And at the time I was designing, because I do digital photography when cameras were new, batteries were an issue. Digital camera batteries went out really fast. So my friend and I, who was an engineer, designed a battery pack that we were going to market that would allow you to plug in rechargeable alkaline batteries. Remember when they had rechargeable alkaline batteries? Those batteries were great. But we designed a pack that you could have rechargeable alkaline batteries so that you had roughly more than 200 hours of camera usage straight. Normally, on those cameras, the battery would run out in like 30 minutes. But we made it so you could run it. I don't know, it was 200, but it was more than 2 or 3 days straight if you wanted to. We were testing it. It ran that long. So basically, we needed a way to carry the battery pack. And while we were developing it, instead of going through a supplier, I was just going to make a limited run and decided to go to Walmart to buy fanny packs. You remember those little black fanny packs that used to be popular? Hardly anyone wears them anymore, but fanny packs would be perfect for carrying a battery pack and, memory cards and things to clean your digital camera with. So I saw the fanny packs at Walmart, and I think they wanted them for I think it was like $8 or $9 a piece. $8 or $9 each, which wasn't bad because elsewhere people were selling for $15. So Walmart was selling for like $8 or $9. I went in there and I needed, I think, 30 of them. I wanted 30 for the initial run, because we already had some orders. We had like 10 orders already, and we're like, we're gonna design these and use these to hold the battery packs while we're testing and seeing if they sell and if we decide to have it manufactured and stuff. So I bought the packs were roughly $8 or $10, and I didn't want to pay $8 or $10 for 30 of them. So I asked to see the department manager, for the electronics department where the packs were kept, and basically explained to him, hey, we are developing a battery pack. We're looking to buy local, to initially to resell them basically in our battery packs. I need 30 of them. Can you cut me a deal? And he said, yeah, I'll give you 25% off. Just like that. So I got 30 packs at 25% off at Walmart. So this also works with cars. Basically, if you understand how money works, money, or the price of something, is what someone's willing to pay. And if you're not willing to pay it, don't pay it. It's like, I try to teach my son, and he does that, if you want something and you're willing to pay it, get it. But if you're not willing to pay that, don't pay it. You wait on it. You can get it somewhere else. Okay. Or before you wait on it, talk to the seller. You know, it doesn't hurt. Here's the worst that could happen. I asked for the Walmart manager, the department manager. He comes and he says, "Sorry, company policy, I can't do that." I say, "All right, I'll just take 10 of them." And you're like, "Why would you take 10? I had 10 orders." But meanwhile, I'm looking online now because I know I can get them online for cheaper because Walmart bought them somewhere. If I have to go direct to the factory or the intermediate supplier, I can get it cheaper. Okay, and Walmart knows that. Anyone who does business, you don't normally you don't buy retail and then resell because retail already has a markup. Okay, you buy wholesale, but if you're a small company, it may not be worth setting up a wholesaler account yet. It's better to potentially test out the idea by walking into Sam's Club or Walmart, whatever, buying the stuff locally, reselling it at the markup. You don't get the huge markup that you would if you went directly to the source, like the factory or whatever, and they were your supplier. But it allows you to do stuff locally until you know that you really want to buy 1,000 or 10,000 or 10 million units. But even Walmart will bargain, just so you know. By the way, as it pertains to this channel, and from my experience with Walmart, okay, did you know that you can bargain the price of food at Walmart? Yeah. See, the food spoils. This is how I'm going to give you a little insider track on how Walmart does stuff, okay? Meats and vegetables spoil. And what that means is most Walmarts, if they do it correctly, they're supposed to inspect the vegetables and toss them if they're bad. They won't sell them to you. But sometimes they mark them down if they're in a package, so you can get them marked down. Same with meats. Meats do have an expiry date. And the way they do the expiry date, believe it or not, isn't a shipment date. Although the shipment does have a date. Walmarts typically are disorganized in the meat department, at least the one I was at. And it's not so much disorganized, it's how shipping occurs. Those things are heavy, and the freezer's a tiny little space, and they have stacks on them, and what they're supposed to do is rotate the stock. They're supposed to put, like, the stuff that expires first up towards the front, and stuff that expires later in the back. The problem is with shipment, sometimes stuff that expires first came before the stuff that expires later. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. But sometimes it's backwards, it's opposite. So you get new stuff that came in that expires before the stuff you already have on the shelf. So you're actually supposed to stock the new stuff first because it came from, somehow the shipment got delayed from the meat processor or whatever. Because they stamp a date on there when it has to be sold, used. So what happens in that case, you're supposed to take the stuff that came in, even though it came in later, and sell it first because it expires faster. But see, the Walmart employees, they don't necessarily do that. They're human. And some of them are lazy. They just take the box and they always shove it into the back. So now it's really going to expire, when it comes out. So when they get to it, it's got like 1 or 2 days left, even though it's been frozen the whole time. They have to put the expiry date on it per, the meat regulations and stuff. So they have to put the correct date on it. Even though the meat's been frozen all this time, it's really still good, but it'll expire in 1 or 2 days, and they'll mark it down. They have 2 markdowns. They do an initial markdown and then a second markdown before it gets removed, all in the course of 24-hour period. When they do the actual markdown varies by store, or used to vary, but I think they now do 3 p.m. I think it starts at like 2 or 3 p.m. for the first markdown, and then at like 8 p.m., 7 or 8 p.m. for the second markdown. And then by 10 p.m., the stuff's all removed. 9 or 10 p.m. it's removed. I don't remember. You'd have to talk to the meat workers. It's not a secret. Ask them. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask. So if you're trying to save food, money, and you like shopping at Walmart for the meat, which, by the way, isn't the best price. If you have a thrifty store, thrifty meat market or thrifty supermarket near you, you can get better deals on meat there. But if for some reason you're stuck with Walmart meat, let's say you're a van dweller, okay, you can talk to the workers there and say, hey, when do you mark stuff down? You could even arrange it, and talk to them. Say, hey, when you mark stuff down, well, the time where, because they typically won't set it aside for you, but maybe you could talk to the manager and say, if you set this aside, I'll come pick it up. But if you tell them to set it aside and you don't pick it up, you just spoiled it for everybody else in the future. If you tell them to set it aside or set this particular thing aside, and the person who's doing it at that time, the markdown, they may set it aside for you. But see, they won't lock it up somewhere where it won't be sold. They'll leave it out, but you can say, set it here, and but they'll tell you where it is. There's a markup section and stuff like that. I don't know if they'll pull it and put it in the back for you, because if they do that and nobody buys it, they had to throw that away that they could have sold and made money on it. Understand how that works? But you can get food for cheaper by doing that. So talk to the workers there at usually the evening. That's the final, ones before they actually pull it off the shelf. And what they do with that meat most of the time, if it's not bad, it goes to a recycling bin in the back, a little container, and they actually take it, and some guy, some farmer or whatever, actually gets them. I don't know if he buys them or gets them for free, and he uses it to feed his animals. That's what they do with that. Some of it, if it, that's what they did with the meat, which sometimes it was like prime rib and other stuff. I was like, holy schmoly, this is expensive cuts of meat going to feed cattle or something. I don't know, whatever they were feeding with it, pigs, whatever. So they typically will do that. It doesn't really get tossed out in the back. If the Walmart is tossing out in the back, then that food may be contaminated, as far as the meats. It may have some kind of poisoning or something in it. I don't know. Typically, the meat isn't thrown away. The meat's usually kept frozen, and then some farmer or some dude comes and picks them up, takes them for recycling, maybe to make Soylent. Soylent blue for Walmart. But anyhow, that's how that works. I'm just going to read your comments here. A Angry has looked for swear words in a YouTube comment section. They have been gone for months. Yeah, A Angry, they might have automated it. Most of this, I don't notice because mine has already removed. That's why you see very few comments on my channel from the trolls, because they keep having to make new accounts. But YouTube's tracking accounts now, by IP and other stuff like that. So it had to do with like the lawsuit and protection of children, but also the rampant abuse of YouTube by the trolls and haters and stuff, people like that. So they do have an automated system that tracks it. They'll flag it, and it'll go into holding. It goes, how it works is that actually when it gets flagged, there's an option when you set your videos, the comment section, it says hold potentially inappropriate comments. If someone doesn't click that, then also the nasty stuff show up. If you click the box for hold potentially inappropriate comments, the YouTube algorithm will scan for cuss words and other things like that. And then it'll hold it, and then you can review it and decide if you want to publish it or not. The other thing is using the YouTube filter. This is what I'm talking about when programming. Using the YouTube filter, you can filter out all the trolls, because it turns out the trolls are like little roaches or whatever. They only have like a single track mind. They're really simple, very easy to predict. So that means you can predict what they're going to put down. So you just filter that out. And then the only thing they can pretty much is say, we love you, Denoy. Just scrolling through here. Scrolling through your messages. Hey, Van Life channel, good to see you on here. Yeah, MoBang says the locals know the foreigners. That's why it's important for me to be able to read and write Thai. And it might not hurt if you can make friends with locals. The more local, when I say local, see here's what I see that make the foreigners screwed in a way. They call them, I guess, expats, expatriates or whatever, expats. They move to another country, and instead of living with the locals, they form their own expat community, which is understandable because, you're in a foreign country. You may not speak the language so well, But then you hang out with other people that are just like you in a foreign country that don't know the country and don't speak the language well. So it's like the blind leading the blind. You got people who don't know, who are there to guide you, and they don't know either. But as they figure it out, they share the information, and that helps. But really, if you want to fit in with the locals, your friends need to be the locals. You need to make friends. Like if you're living in Thailand, you need to make friends with some Thai people, because then they can tell you the real stuff. Like what the Thais really pay, where to get the best deals. They can teach you the real Thai, not the expat Thai. Hey, Doji, good to see you on here. Todd สวัสดีครับผมพูดไทยได้นะครับแต่ว่าพูดเหมือนเป็นเด็กเอ่อผมยังเรียนอยู่เดี๋ยวนี้ฟังไทยใน YouTube. I can speak Thai, okay, pretty fluently as a kid. That's the problem. But the other thing is, Thai has regional dialects, just like Americans do, but it's a little bit more pronounced in certain areas. Now, I'm from Korat, which I think some people told me, and I looked it up. That area is known as Isan. I think Isan or Isan is the region I'm from, which is like central Thailand. Okay, and that dialect is pretty popular. And the food is pretty popular from there. But Thailand has different regions, and they apparently have slightly different dialects. And some of the people in Thailand don't even speak Thai. They speak, we have some Laotians. Some speak Chinese. Some speak some tribe-type language. So those I may not learn, but I might have to try to learn if I do some traveling. But the Thai that I know is enough to understand most of it. And by learning to read and write Thai, what you see when they teach you to read and write Thai is official. Not official, but like from Bangkok. So what happens is you'll have the maximum coverage. Thailand has a pretty high literacy rate. I think it's like 88 to 93% literacy rate. So most people there can read and write. So if you go there and you can't read and write, you're at a huge disadvantage. Now, the people who can't read and write in Thai are usually like the hill people, the people who live out in the mountains and the woods and stuff, because they don't have access to schools. But schools in Thailand, depending on which schools and where they're from, a lot of Thais actually, if you're in touristy areas, will speak English. Their English might be flawed, but you can understand them, they can understand you for the most part. Me, if I go there, I'm pretty sure I can understand them, they can understand me. But what happens is if they understand me, then they go full-blown Thai on me, and it sounds like and I go, you have to slow down and act like you're speaking to a 7-year-old. But here's the thing, as I've been watching the Thai channels, I've been watching the teaching Thai channels, as well as Americans and Europeans and stuff in Thailand. They show the Thai people talking, and I try to hear them and see if I can understand them. And I do understand them, which is a good sign, because they're real Thai people speaking in Thailand with their regional dialect, and I can understand them. Although sometimes I can only understand like 70 to 90%. Idoji says, I wish you could go to Japan, but it's so bloody expensive. Yeah, Japan's very expensive, especially if you try to eat meat. Now, if you were from Japan and had Japanese money, then you can travel the world and live in luxury. My roommate from college was from Japan, and he's living in Thailand right now. So, he set up a business between Thailand and Japan. I may be setting up businesses between the United States and Thailand. So some of you may have a business opportunity. If you want to be a business partner, it depends on how things turn out. I could use American people here, and maybe even some of you who are in New Zealand, hint, hint, Kira. But if things work out, it depends on what happens. My first thing is get over coronavirus. We need to get out of this pandemic, get things somewhat normal. So that's kind of shifted my plans a little bit. So waiting for that to resolve and see how that goes, because it's not just, when I say we, I'm talking about the whole world, is even Thailand is playing it day by day, year by year. So people are just kind of moving forward slowly And depending on what happens with the United States, with Thailand, and the world, that kind of determines my plan, which sucks. Those of you who are in my position right now, looking at retirement or getting near retirement or trying to plan for the future, it's really depressing and sucky because you can't just plan anymore. You have to account for what happens with the presidential race, what happens with COVID, what happens in other countries. So that's the sucky part of it right now. But you can still semi-plan. So I have you just got to be very fluid in what happens. And also, don't be too disappointed if timelines get pushed back by the governments, whether it's the United States government, the Thai government, the European government, whatever, whatever country you're from. They're doing the best that they can, or maybe not their best, but they're doing something. So hopefully it'll start to play into the favor of semi-normalcy. Although I was looking, sadly, I was looking at Phuket. Phuket is a huge tourist town in Thailand. I think it's an island, or at least part of, like almost like an island. It's like, I have to look exactly who Phuket is, but it's a huge tourist area, okay? And there's one whole side of it that I was watching this, this Farang who lives there, and he was showing what it really looks like. And this video was like from, I think, a couple days ago, and the place is deserted. It's like all the shops are closed, and it's never coming back. It's never coming back because they didn't just close the shops. Those were people who lived there and worked there and made money. When it got cut off from the tourism trade, they kicked out all the tourists, sent them all home. The economy went, just like here in America. Places aren't coming back. So I'm looking at places that used to be huge tourist destinations, and I'm thinking they're not going to recover. They're starting to try to let tourism come back into Thailand, but slowly. And of course, the Westerners, when you read them on the comments, they're all pissed. They're writing about how bad the Thai government is, and how it's a rip-off country because they're making it so you have to be under quarantine for 2 weeks, and you have to pay. I think like the quarantine price is like $1,500 to $2,000 for 15 days, but that includes your hotel stay, your hospital visits, your daily check of COVID. And then once you hit the 2-week, the 15-day period, then you're free to roam Thailand freely. So a lot of foreigners who are wanting to visit there are very angry because they're like, hey, it's roughly $100 a day to be in a quarantine hotel in Thailand, and you have to go through it right now. Whereas they could have paid for like $100, $150 a month to get a condo or an apartment or something before. And while they're under quarantine, unlike America, they cannot leave. They have to stay in the hotel. And they get fed there, but that price, that $100, includes three meals a day, includes, using the facilities there, the gym and everything else that's still allowed to be used. Can't use the swimming pool. I don't know if the gyms are open or not, but you can't use some of the stuff. You can use some stuff that can be sterilized, some stuff that's harder to sterilize you can't use. But you're pretty much stuck in your room, which I don't think people would want to pay $1,500 to go sit in a hotel no matter how fancy it is. So they got to figure that out. But here's the thing. The Thai government will not, unlike the United States is apparently doing, will not let potentially contaminated people go out and infect the whole country, the whole population, the whole general population. And, the tourists obviously are mad, but the Thai government is saying, hey, we value our people. We're not going to let a foreigner come in here and infect the whole nation just because, it's hurting the economy. Because the economy means nothing if your whole country's dead. Or most of your country is dead. So, that's what's going on over there right now, which is kind of bad news for anyone wanting to travel there, including me. Although for me, they may let me in without... Now, I may have to quarantine with a friend or something instead of a hotel. Because I'm Thai, So... it'll be a little bit easier for me to get in than a foreigner, but still I have to go under quarantine too. I was checking all this stuff out at the embassy and stuff. I've been running back and forth with the embassies to look at the situation and what happens. But You have to be under quarantine. You have to have the papers. And I suspect, I don't know if they're going to make a Thai citizen stay in a quarantine hotel, or if a Thai citizen can show that they have somebody they can stay with in Thailand, they might let you go to that house, just stay with your friend or whatever. Idoji wants to know, is Vietnam very different from Thailand? Vietnam is communist. Thailand's not. So, the Vietnam War is when Vietnam became communist. And so they're similar to like China in the sense that, you can ask Timothy, he hates that government because the communists have a way of really, really, really controlling people. And what happens and what gets released and what doesn't get released. So I see some expats in there. They tend to be Americans, and they seem to be enjoying it, and they show the food, and they seem to be able to travel freely. Because what happened was when a country becomes communist, like Cuba or Vietnam, they end up getting cut off from the rest of the world. So the only countries that really can help them are China and the Soviet Union, which China's doing better now, but when all this was first going on, China was poor and didn't have that much resources to help the other communist countries. And the Soviet Union, of course, fell apart. There's no Soviet Union anymore. It got disbanded. So the Soviet Union, I don't think they were communists, they're socialists. So their country fell apart. So, the support for the people who became communists or socialists or whatever, but they have a hard time functioning with the rest of the world because most of the world are free nations, not under communism. Thailand has a parliament. It has a king, but the king doesn't have real political power officially. But I'll be honest, the king, the royal family in Thailand is highly, highly regarded by all Thais. So even though the king doesn't officially have power, as far as political power, I can tell you if he says something, all Thai people will do what the king says. I can guarantee you, every single Thai person, except for, of course, the dissenters. But, for the most part, I would say 99.9999% of the Thai people will listen to the king. So basically, I saw from them traveling in Vietnam and stuff, things are cheap. It might even be a little bit cheaper in Vietnam, but then you're living in a communist country. And in a communist country, things can happen and then you really are screwed. Whereas in Thailand, it's allied with the Western countries. It's allied with Europe and the United States and stuff. MoBang says Vietnam and Thailand are pretty much similar. It's because they're neighbors. If you're talking about the landscape and stuff like that, we have some Vietnamese people in Thailand, and I presume we have some Thai people in Vietnam. I don't know because I've never traveled to Vietnam. I do know that I was there when the Vietnam War was going on. We left before the Vietnam War ended. So, the only thing we know of Vietnam was that the communists were trying to take it over. And Thailand and the United States was fighting against that. And the Vietnamese won. The United States pulled out, withdrew its troops. Thailand took some refugees. Okay, so that's why we have some Vietnamese in Thailand. But a lot of the Vietnamese ended up going to different countries. Some are in Europe, some are in the United States. Just scrolling through here. Idoji says, I would be looking to get married if I went to Thailand. Honestly, Idoji, that might be the only way to really go and stay there. It's like, well, what's happening right now is Americans are looking to marry foreigners so they can go to a foreign country because foreign countries are actually blocking Americans now at this point. And I know Americans say, what? We don't need to go there anyways. Well, you're obviously not looking at what's really happening right now with this country, the United States, and the rest of the world. But a lot of countries right now are no longer looking up to the United States as the world leader. So, I won't get too political. All I can say is this. People are leaving the United States and having a hard time going to other countries because other countries are blocking Americans from going there. Does that sound like, something that was supposed to be going the opposite, like people trying to get into America? There are still people trying to get into America, but less and less. But there's a lot of Americans trying to leave because they feel that other countries are better. And I don't know for sure because I haven't lived in Thailand since I was a kid. Okay. So I don't know. But from what I can tell from looking at expat videos as well as my Thai friends and stuff, Thailand is still a free country, much more free than the United States, even though they can be more strict in certain areas. Like you have to respect the king. Okay. Some people would say, let me put it this way: the disrespect Americans show for the presidency would not be tolerated in Thailand if that was the king. But also, the king of Thailand would not behave the way the president of this country behaves. So that's the other side of the coin. Okay. So, I won't get too political, but I will say that the people in Thailand are loyal to the king. And they're loyal to the king because for the most part, the king and stuff like the whole policy for not allowing foreigners in right now, even though the country's hurting financially, because money isn't everything, but protecting your country and your people and their welfare, that should be your number one priority as the government. Protecting your people, not your businesses, even though your businesses are ultimately very important. The Thai government was giving money to the businesses to help them survive, but obviously it wasn't enough. People were folded. What happened is a lot of the businesses that were at Phuket, the people that moved to Phuket, they're moving back to their little villages and stuff. When I say little, they had restaurants, they had haircut places, they had things like that tourists would use. and a lot of them have had to move back to their little village. Now, if Phuket opens back up, I don't know if it's ever going to be like it was because, people lost their businesses. So, but it's not just Phuket. I mean, if you look at the United States, just look in your city, whatever you are, wherever you're in Texas or Florida or Georgia, just look around your shopping centers, your plazas, your malls. Look around and see what's been happening. And some people say, well, they're shutting things down. It's either shut things down or people die. Those are your two choices. And then, some people saying, well, you might as well be dead if you might as well be dead if you're going to shut things down, which is kind of true. So they want things opened back up. The problem with it is when you open things back up, you're guaranteeing pretty much that you're all going to die, or most of you are going to die. You see the catch here? It's not just a United States issue. It's a whole world issue. But you're watching how different countries are handling it. And some countries are more successful than others. I would say right now how the United States is handling it, we have the worst performance. We're number one. We are finally number one at something. Okay? And it's not something to be proud of. So, that's what's going on right now. It's affecting other countries too because the world is interconnected. So, I want the United States to do well. Do you know why I want the United States to do well? It's kind of self-centered to an extent. It has to do with the fact that I'm American. I'm American and I make money here and I pay taxes here and my income is American money. And see, if the US dollar takes a nosedive, then I can't travel overseas. I can't do all these things because if let's say $1 US is only worth 10 or 20 Thai bahts, okay, that means that the dollar has gone down, the baht has gone up, then I can't afford rent. I can't afford to travel and do all the stuff I want to do. So in some ways, it's kind of messed up. I want to live in Thailand and stuff, but I kind of want the United States to do better than Thailand. Does that make sense? So I'm rooting for America because I want the American economy and stuff to improve. I want Americans to be safe. I want the world to respect Americans again and to look up to America and want American computers, American cars, American TV, entertainment, all the American stuff that drive up American value, the dollar. Because the stronger the dollar is to overseas, the more that Americans can travel and do things. And the more that you can live off a limited budget. Because as the dollar goes down, the poorer you become as an American overseas. MoBang says, if you do marry Thai look into province girls. Idoji wants to know about meeting. Any advice on how to meet Thai here first? Well, there's a lot of Thai people here that I could actually introduce you to. Idoji, the best way to meet Thai girls here in America, I'm going to tell you several things that you do need to know for sure, okay? For those of you who are interested in Thai girls, if you have a Thai girl in America, I'm going to give you some warnings, okay? Because this is based on real life, on what the situation is. If you're marrying an older woman who came here that got divorced, okay, then she's already Americanized, and she doesn't really need you. So in some ways it may be good because she may really want a husband. In other ways, she could be trying to move up. And it might seem bad to talk about that of my own people, Thai people and stuff, but it's whether you're American, Thai, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, it's humans, okay? It's normal human. People want to constantly improve their life. So you got to kind of approach it from a little bit cautious. You can't just be like, oh, everyone's nice. No, not everyone's nice, okay? There are some people that will use other people, and they'll even use marriage and stuff to do that. So the first thing you need to do is this. If you want a genuine Thai girl, okay, the only way to get a genuine Thai girl is to go to Thailand. You're like, why? Because they haven't been spoiled. And you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean spoiled? Well, here's the thing. Thai culture is a certain way, and the Thai women grow up with that culture. You know, the real way to marry someone and get involved with someone is to have a genuine interest in their culture. That's why some Americans get mad at foreigners. I don't want to talk politics, but let's talk race and a little bit of that, okay? I'm Americanized. I salute my flag. I will fight for the United States to the death. You know, I will fight for this country, just as I would fight for Thailand. I'm American, okay? I respect the people here. I respect the laws. Even though some people say you were squatting and blah, 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 blah. How can you respect? I was following the law. If the police came and gave me service of trespass, I would respect that, okay? I follow the laws of the country that I'm at. Even though I may or may not agree with it, I have to respect their laws. So if I'm in the United States, I have to pay my taxes. I have to do all the stuff that Americans do. It's called respect. Okay, respect for the country and gratitude that the United States allows me to do all these things. So some people think I don't like America. Hey, I put my life on the line for this country, and I would still do it. Even despite how I don't like how things are going right now, I would still fight for the United States. Not for certain people, but for the Constitution of the United States. I vowed as a soldier to protect the American people, the Constitution. We the people. Not a specific person. And if that person to me is anti-American or has anti-American traits and is going against the Constitution, then I won't support them. But I will support the United States Constitution because it is one of the best laws. You know, we call that the supreme law of this land. It's one of the best laws for treating humans fairly. I mean, there's some issues, but as the issues develop, they have amendments and they pass things to change. A living document is what they call it. It changes. But right now they're trying to change it for stuff that I think that directly destroy the Constitution. They're changing the laws, which is sad, which is one of the reasons I'm leaving. I'm like, I don't know if there's anything I can do anything about it. The only thing I can do is leave. So, but anyhow, if you go to Thailand, you got to respect the law. You got to respect the culture. It's like you might see some weird stuff. Like if I'm in Thailand walking around, you may see some younger people come up to me and bow down, okay, before me, and they don't even really know me, or they might slightly know me. You're like, why are they treating him like he's royal or something? Because in Thailand, that's the proper protocol. Age is very important in Asia. So you'll see me bowing down to people that I'd hardly know because they're older. And you're like, but they didn't do anything. In Thailand, age equals wisdom. They've gone through more, and it's an automatic respect. Let's say they're retarded or whatever. They still have respect. And if you don't show the respect, you dishonor yourself and your family. So honor and respect is very important in Asian cultures. Not just Thailand, but in Asia as a whole. you know. So knowing that helps you. Now, how do you really know that? Well, two things. If you want a true Thai girl, she will not be like an American girl. If you want a Thai girl in America, I'm gonna let you know, depending on how old she was, she's probably Americanized. And you're like, what does that mean? That means even though she looks Thai, she might speak Thai, she can cook Thai. If you try to expect her to act like a Thai girl instead of an American girl, you're an idiot. You got an American girl who looks Thai and speaks Thai. That's what you got. Okay? Is there anything wrong with that? No. My sisters are like that. They're Thai. They came to America. They got Americanized. Now, if you expect them to act like Thai girls, they'll act somewhat like Thai girls. But don't expect them to be exactly like Thai girls. Because they have grown up with Fred Flintstone, the Brady Bunch, Leave It to Beaver, whatever. They grew up in this culture with MTV and whatever. They grew up here. So they will behave somewhat like an American. So if you want the basically in Thailand, the guy is kind of in charge of everything. In American, the American women, and this is why a lot of American men, I know I'm going to get some flack from the American women watching me here, but please don't be mad at me. I'm speaking openly, and I know it's going to hurt for the women watching this channel right now. But Americans as a whole see themselves as individuals. And that's why you're having the problems with the masking and following the rules and all the protests and all this crazy stuff going on in this country. Everybody says me, 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 me in America, not us. Us is U.S., the United States. But everyone in this country considers themselves the most important, not the country itself or their fellow neighbors and all the other Americans. Only them. That's what they see. And it applies to relationships with men and women. Okay, American women wanted liberalism. They wanted to be liberated. They wanted to have the power of men and stuff like that. And the problem with that is, and people are going to call me, what do they call those guys that are anti-women? But honestly, I respect women, even though sometimes it may not seem like it. But long story short, a lot of American men that want to leave to another country, it's because they're more traditional. You can't blame these guys. Men, God made man and woman. He didn't make unisex people, even though sometimes society, American society especially, is starting to try to make there's no difference between men and women. That's a big lie. Okay, they're saying men and women are equal. No, we're not. Does that mean men are better? In some things. Does that mean women are better? In some things. See, God created man and woman because we need each other. But at the same time, it has to be a situation where both parties respect each other. And what's happening is the men that want to leave here, they're the kind of men that want to take care of the woman and, basically have a subordinate woman. And some of you, the women here in America will really get mad at me for saying this, but it is why the men are leaving or, wanting a foreign wife, because they want a woman who will stand behind them and help them build a life, help them build a vision that they see. Do those men see themselves as more important than women? I would say some might, but not necessarily. Those men probably want they want a woman that basically follows them and they lead and they become the provider and take care of them. American women, on the other hand, for the not all, some American women don't mind having a provider, but for the most part, most American women, it seems, they want to be independent. They want to be able to provide for themselves and do all that stuff themselves. So they don't like these men. And these men want to leave. So if you want to meet a foreign woman, the best way is to go to the foreign country, because if you get them here, they've already experienced America and liberalism and all that stuff, and they're Americanized. Is there anything wrong with that? No. I had American girlfriends. I like American women. Okay? But at the same time, they are different than Thai women. Well, much, much different. Now, I will tell you this: Thai women, if you cannot deal with, Thai women are like, you don't want to piss them off. Let me put it that way. Thai women can be extremely dangerous if you piss them off. So, if you're not a faithful type of guy, if you're not faithful, and you have a Thai girlfriend or marry a Thai wife, you probably aren't going to be a guy for very long. I will just give you that little clue. Let me read on here. Just scrolling through here. Timothy says, if you marry Thai, look for province girls. City girls are high maintenance. I do not know much because Timothy might know more, okay, about this kind of stuff. I only remember stuff as a kid and what I see now as an adult and my own experiences and stuff. I haven't really... The Thai girls that I've met have come here, as either children, just like me, so they're Americanized, or I met some Thai women who married Americans or Germans or British or whatever, and they came here and ended up getting divorced and are stranded. Or some of them actually go back to Thailand. But some of them end up staying in America because they prefer to stay here. Okay? So, those women would now at this point be Americanized. So they'll follow some Thai culture, but they might follow certain American cultures. Like they might like the independence. They might like the fact that here in America, a woman can work and potentially even get a job that pays as much as a man. Okay. Still, I do think there is still a discrepancy in pay, that women aren't being paid as much as men for the most part, which is, I think, wrong. But at least they can work here, and whereas foreign countries, women may not even be allowed to work, or if they do work, the kind of jobs they get aren't anywhere near the pay scale of a male. Okay. If you marry a foreign woman in America, you are not getting the true foreign woman. If you marry a foreign woman overseas and you bring her to America, do you see a problem here? Okay. Here's what the problem is. You're this white dude that wanted this submissive woman, okay, that was like an Asian style woman who would cook and clean and take care of the house and raise the kids and do all that. And you go overseas, whether it be to Russia, to Thailand, to France, to whatever. Well, not Europe. The European women are independent for the most part, other than Eastern European, the Eastern Bloc, okay? Because those are like Russia and Poland and all those other Eastern Bloc countries and Ukraine and all that. But if you marry these people, okay, they're going to be the old style women that kind of depend on the men to do everything because that's how they were raised. That's how the culture is. That's how things used to be, even in America. America used to be like that at one time. But if you bring them to the United States, they're going to make friends. They're going to watch TV. They're going to see what American women are like here. And then they're going to want this. Okay? And then you're going to end up with a divorce, because the divorce rate in this country is, I think, more than 70 or 80%. There's a reason for that. It's hard to be a couple when the man and the woman want to be individuals and do whatever they want. You understand what I'm saying? You're not working together. But that's what the American culture and even the European culture is like. But I don't know how bad it is, the divorce rate in Europe. But I know in America, it's more than 50%. It's like 70 or 80% right now for the nation. Nobody can stay married anymore in America because men and women aren't men and women anymore. They're just two individuals, and they're even divorcing, and there's kids with multiple parents. And believe me, I know, I'm part of that. I'm in America, okay? And I went through it, and it was nasty, and it was bad. It still is, but it's ending, at least finally, now that the kids are grown up, for the most part. And I can kind of move on with my life. But if you really want to marry a foreign woman, I'm going to suggest that you move to the foreign country and live there with the foreign woman. Now, you're the foreigner, and you have to adapt. And same with women. If you want to marry a foreign man, like my wife marrying me and stuff, I'm not Thai. I'm American Thai. So I'm not exactly like the Thai guys. I'm not exactly like the American guys. I'm a blend, and you have to accept me for as American and Thai. And if you marry an Asian or a European or whatever that's here in America, that's what you're marrying. You're marrying a mix. But if you want pure, if you want to call it that, you go to that country and you become the foreigner that lives there, that learns the culture and the language, and learns, to respect what they respect over there. Then you get that kind of wife. Because as soon as you bring her to America, it doesn't matter that she's brown skinned. Eventually, she's an American woman, and she will behave like an American woman. And you did it. You brought her here, and exposed her to all this stuff. So I would say, go overseas, marry overseas, stay overseas. If you're from a wealthier country, pick a country that's safe. Like Thailand or some other country. I know there are some expats living in Vietnam. And remember, I told you that's a communist country. So even though they're communists, they might be opening up more and not acting truly communist. Because acting truly communist means isolation, like Cuba, and having nothing. Vietnam is building up and stuff. So I see some stuff going on in Vietnam, and I'm like, how can they be communists and doing all this? Because that doesn't seem very communist to me. Like when I was watching the American guy driving around on his motorcycle, they do their vlogs where they're going into little villages and stuff, driving over bridges and doing weird stuff. I'm like, they're giving them free travel and all that as if it was like Thailand. But that country isn't like Thailand. It's communist. Thailand's not communist. So I don't know. Let me continue reading here. Idoji says I'm sexist. Yeah, and I have a lot of women on here, so I apologize to those women. It's not meant to be sexist. I am Americanized, and I do respect women. But at the same time, I also have Thai tendencies and stuff like that. But, even if they're not Thai, most American men have those same tendencies. There's something about role models. When I say role models, I mean gender roles. Men are supposed to be men and women are supposed to be women. And some people say, well, that's bad. You're being sexist. You're saying a woman has to clean shoes, a woman has to clean the house and massage your feet. And now the guys are all saying, yeah, that's the kind of woman I want. My girlfriends used to do that for me. And whether they were Asian or white or whatever, I liked the girl that would massage my feet. It was great, She'd say, hey, how was your day? Have dinner, they're cooking and stuff, and come over and give me a massage, play some sexy music, and, that kind of stuff. Guys love that, okay? And some people say, well, when you do that, you're giving the man power, you're showing affection to your partner, okay? And I think that's where the feminist movement may have gone wrong, was they think that a woman doing that is weak. A woman showing that she supports her guy, that when he likes something, that, it's something that she can give him, like massaging his feet. That is something that doesn't degrade her. That is something that shows that she's willing to basically please her partner. And, at the same time, though, guys also have to show the respect for the women. If you treat your women like dirt and stuff, yeah, they're gonna, they're not gonna want to be with you, So, but like I said, it's a totally different culture. So a lot of what you see happening here in the United States and stuff, it doesn't happen overseas because the culture there is different. Like you may see when I go to Thailand, like I said, you're going to see me with younger people and they all going to treat me with a lot of respect. And you'll see me when I approach older people in Thailand, a huge amount of respect. Because over there, age is automatically respected. The other thing that's respected in Asia for the most part, not all the countries, but most of the countries, including Thailand, if you're a man, you generally have more respect than a woman. And you're like, what? That's messed up, Denoy. It's the culture. See, if I walk into a building in Thailand and it's got a lot of women and stuff on it, I automatically get respect from those women because I'm a man. You're like, really is sexist. No, it's the culture. So, do I expect respect from those women? Only under one condition. And you're like, what? Denoy actually expects women to respect him because he's a man? If they are Thai women, traditional Thai women, I expect that respect. If they are Americanized, or if they're Americanized and they don't give me that respect, then I consider them an American woman, not a Thai woman, no matter how much they want to tell me they're Thai. If they're an American woman or a foreigner and they don't give me that respect, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. Your culture, because you're from a Western culture and you have a certain precept of what men and women are, it's different than what a Thai woman is supposed to be like. And if a Thai woman decides she doesn't want to respect me because I'm a male, it's all right. I'm not going to disrespect her. She disrespected herself amidst all the Thai people because that's the culture. Do you understand the difference? So, like, you might have even seen me when I did the Thai temples and stuff. There was a certain way we interacted with the Thai people there. Even though they're in America, we're still Thai, so there's certain things you have to do, like taking your shoes off and things like that, entering a house. Entering any buildings in Thailand, like a house or something, you have to take your shoes off. Foreigner, except for like a store or something, but if you're entering somebody's house, you have to take your shoes off. And if you don't do that, it's very disrespectful. Now, will somebody say something to you? More than likely not, unless they're a friend and they come teach you. Because see, the Thai people won't be aggressive with you not taking your shoes off. Okay? But it's extremely disrespectful. So those are the kind of things you have to learn if you want to marry a foreigner. And I'm only talking on the Thai side, but it's the same whether you're marrying a Russian, whatever. If you marry a Russian woman and you bring her or a Ukrainian woman and you bring her to America, and 2 to 5 years, 10 years later, she divorces you because she's Americanized. You did it to yourself, bro. Okay? You want to marry a Ukrainian woman? You better learn how to be a Ukrainian man, but better than a Ukrainian man, because, see, here's the other side of the coin, okay? If a Thai girl is going to marry an American guy, or a Japanese guy, or a French guy, or Malaysian guy, or whatever, whoever she's going to marry that's not a Thai guy, it's because she doesn't like Thai guys. She doesn't like all the precepts, all the rules, all the stuff that comes with a Thai guy. Like, for example, I told you, if I'm in Thailand and I'm surrounded by women and stuff that are my age or younger, I expect automatic respect. You're like, what do you mean? I mean, if they don't show me the respect that I am supposed to get as a Thai guy, okay, those aren't real Thai women. They're not the kind that I want to hang out with. They've already shamed themselves, okay? Will I say anything to them? No, I just won't stay. I won't have anything to do with them. But Thai guys pretty much won't have anything to do with them either, because they aren't Thai women. They're not traditional. So those women are the ones that will marry the Throngs, the foreigners. Okay, you're not going to get a true Thai girl. You're going to get one that is willing to accept a foreigner. So will you ever become fully Thai? And that was one of the complaints. I was watching the Throng. He was like, he's been there 13 years. And I what's wrong with what he's doing? He says, there's this white guy, okay? And I'm assuming he's, I don't know if he's from Australia. I think he's from Australia. Or he's from Europe. But it's this Thai guy, not Thai, this Farang. He's a foreigner. And he says he's been there, he's been living in Thailand for 13 years, and he's still an outsider. But when I was watching his vlogs, guess where he was hanging out? Where all the expats go, where all the tourists hang out, and he was speaking English on everything. I'm like, dude, it's because you're behaving like a foreigner. You're not hanging out where the locals hang out. You're not speaking the language. You've been there 13 years, and you apparently still aren't behaving like a Thai. The Thai people don't really care if you're black, white, or whatever. Okay? Now, they might look at you curious if you're black or white or whatever. You don't look like a brown skin or an olive skin person like me. and they may look at you differently. But if you go in and you live the culture and you show the respect of the elders, and if you're a man, um, you don't demand, but you expect respect from the women. Okay, there's a difference between demanding and expecting. You start to become more like a Thai person. Will you ever truly become Thai? Only in your heart. Now, the Thai people will treat you like a foreigner because you have a different colored skin. But if you start speaking Thai and behaving like a Thai person, they're going to treat you like a Thai. That's what happened to my father, my American father. He's not blood father, but he was stationed in Thailand for he loved it there and was there for, I think, 11 to 13 years. But he was stationed in Thailand and he loved it so much he kept extending it and extending it and extending it and extending it because he loved Thailand. And, when he hung out, he didn't hang out with white people, except for, on the base, because he was a military. He hung out with his white friends on base. But most of the time, most of his friends, they weren't Caucasian. They were actually Thai guys. And his girlfriends were Thai girls. Okay? They would go out and they would go to not the tourist Thai bars and stuff, but the local Thai bars. And he learned the languages, he learned the culture, he learned the jokes, he learned the nuances of being Thai. Was he truly Thai? No. But was he accepted? Yes. So I watched that foreigner who lived in Thailand for 13 years. I'm like, dude, you're not Thai. And he's like, what do you mean? Because I'm white? No. Because you're behaving like you're an Australian or whatever, living in Thailand, instead of behaving like an Australian who's moved to Thailand and is now Thai. There's a difference between the two. If all your buddies are expats, if where you hang out is the red light district, if you drink at the American bars or the bars that speak English and serve, American drinks and foods and stuff and charge you American prices, that's why you're a foreigner. That's why you're an outsider. Let me go here. Yeah, MoBang says, the family unit now, especially in America, is all messed up. K9 says, my friend married a Thai woman. He had to pay her family. They have a thing called dowry, okay? And dowries, Americans may not truly understand dowries, but dowries happen in a lot of third world countries because the tradition is that the man, for the most part, okay, the man has to actually pay the family to get the girl. The girl is seen almost like to Westerners, they say, man, they treat the girl like an object, okay? And that's a cultural thing, but the dowry is a standard thing. In Thailand, I understand it is, but I've never seen any of dowries and stuff being dealt with the Thai people. I think it might be something that some people are bringing back, especially when it's a foreigner. I don't know. The only real way I would know, this is something I'd have to research, okay? So I can't give you a definite answer. The only thing I've seen about dowries have been on the internet and hearing it from a foreigner, okay? So, K9, you said your friend married a Thai woman, he had to pay her family. I'm willing to bet you're a foreigner. Not a Thai person. So the family may be taking advantage of you, but it's not really taking advantage of you because it's actually built into the culture. It's just the modern Thai people. I don't know if the Thai men pay a dowry or not. The only way I will know for sure is to actually ask my Thai friends and say, hey, do they still do dowries? I can see them doing dowries if you're marrying somebody who is potentially out in the boonies, because they're going to be more traditional. But if you are in a city or in a metro area where they're a little bit more modernized, the dowry may or may not be in effect. That's something I'd have to research and something I would look up when I get to Thailand. And, because I want to travel around, I want to talk to people. I want to talk to the locals, the Thai people, as well as expats. Because I know a lot of expats are looking, or people who are planning on being expats, or expatriates, or whatever you call them. The foreigners who want to live in Thailand or other countries. If things take off and the channel does really well and stuff, I could end up traveling to other countries. Like, I want to go back and visit Panama. I've lived in Panama. I'm going to go visit there, although it's, from what I understand, very expensive there now. So, there's a lot of stuff I want to do, and it has to do with not so much showing people how to escape, which is part of it, kind of, with the whole van stuff. But instead of just van, we're now looking at just traveling globally and living globally. But for me, it's about travel. You know, my real goal in life is to see and do things, and not necessarily collect items and money and things like that, but to experience life. I mean, when we get later on the channel and stuff, I'll talk more about my life and just interesting things like how many people can say they've actually worked with the presidents and the vice president of the United States and met some of them. How many people can say that they actually are working on spaceships, going to Mars, going to the moon and the space station? Not directly working on it, but are involved in it, part of the process. How many people can say that they actually were involved in United States conflicts where we attacked our enemies and took them down? How many people can say they actually lived the Vietnam War? Well, I know Timothy can, and he has. If you have not heard Timothy's story, I suggest you go to MoBang for your bucks and look at his earlier videos where he tells his background. It's sad, but it tells you the strength that Timothy has in his family. I admire that guy. Because I admire him because he got attacked by Thai people, I think, even as they were making their escape, bad Thai people. So there are bad people all over the world in different cultures. And I'm not saying that Thai people are nice. Thai people are Thai people. There are good Thai people and bad Thai people, just like American people. There are good and bad. But the stuff that Timothy went through, and to see how resilient he's been and how kind a person he has turned out to be and continues to be is something that inspires me. Okay, because I have, just like most of you do, if you're honest with yourself, you probably have certain prejudices and things like that, preconceived notions, preconceived ideals, and Timothy busts a lot of them for me. And it makes me really take, when somebody makes you take a deep introspective look at yourself, I think that's somebody to be admired, because they obviously are able to overcome something that you're finding a difficulty in dealing with that's within yourself. So, I do give a lot of credence to Timothy. If it seems like I admire him, it's because I do. And it's not just because he helped me out, but because of his story of his life and what he's been through, and knowing what my people, probably my people, I don't know if they're 100% Thai people, but knowing what the Thai pirates, because I think that's what they were, I think they were Thai pirates, did to him and his family and the other people on that boat, and he still would help me out knowing that I'm Thai, that kind of stuff, because he knows that it's not so much a race. See, that's one of the problems you're having with America, is they're grouping people into races and categories, and then you're hating everybody of that race or category, when the trait that you hate isn't just a racial or an ethnic thing. It's a human thing. And by putting it into a group, you can generate a lot of hate and a lot of, it's like a quick, I guess, a quick label that's not really true. That is true, but not fully true, if you know what I'm saying. So, anyhow, we talk more about those kind of deep stuff later, but let's just continue on. I'm just reading your comments. Yeah, MoBang says, Traveler, K9 Traveler, your friend is a goldmine for that family. Here's the deal. I'm in Thailand for 7 years, working for the U.S. government. That's where he met his wife. Here's the thing about paying dowries and stuff like that, okay? Even if I'm Thai and it's not expected and I had the money, I would give it to her family. See, that's one. See, Americans, for the most part, think this is, remember what I said about me, mine, me, I'm number one? That's the mindset of Americans. I earn this money. It's my money. It doesn't belong to my wife. It doesn't belong to my wife's family. It's my money. And that's the mindset that Americans have. So, let's say your friend, this is what I would say about your friend, okay? He had to pay a dowry to marry the girl. And Timothy says to that family, the girl's family, the friend is a gold mine, because Well, he worked for the government, U.S. government, which means he's getting paid in U.S. dollars, and his retirement's in U.S. dollars if he's retired. So he's making a lot of money, okay? And he's having to use it to pay for dowry, and he's probably taking care of the family. And some of you are like, they are just taking advantage of that guy, okay? And K9 might be thinking that. K9 Traveler might be thinking, that family is taking advantage of that guy, okay? And here's what I would tell you, my answer to that. All true. But here's the question. Is he happy? Is his wife pleasing him? Is his wife supporting him? Is he the type of guy that likes to come home and have the food already cooked for him, and he gets a foot massage and whatever he wants he gets from his wife? She takes care of him, and they show him respect. Is he happy with his wife? Is he happy with his life? Because, see, it turns out money is nothing. In the end, you can't take it with you. Look at the what's his face from Apple. You know, the founder of Apple. What's his name? Jobs. All that money, and he died all messed up with as far as his personal life and his family and his daughter, his real daughter, Lisa. You know, it turns out that in life, money is really nothing. I mean, you need it and stuff to an extent, but if you're driven by collecting money and saving money and making money and having piles of money, and you don't understand that the money is what is a tool that can be used to help make your life and the life of the people you care about better, then you're missing the whole point of having all that money. So I would say to your friend, if he feels like he's being taken advantage of, that's in his head. If he doesn't mind taking care of that family because he's happy with his life and he wants a happy wife, that's okay. And if his Caucasian friends or whatever want to say he's being taken advantage of, they want to break him up. For some reason, they don't like to see him happy. If he's happy with spending the money and he's living a great life, it's none of their business. How somebody chooses to spend their money is their choice, you know? Now, if the family and the girl or whatever was just scamming him and taking all his money out until it's completely gone and then going to dump him, that's very bad, and that does happen sometimes, you know? So he needs to kind of, you can't be like totally dumb. You can't be stupid about your life and how you deal with people and stuff. But at the same time, if he has no problems with paying the dowry and has no problems with potentially paying the rent for the family, the mother, like if I had that kind of money, I would pay for my mother-in-law. You know, Americans do it, but they do it differently. Like they might build a separate house next to their house called the mother-in-law suite, you know, that you bring them in and stuff. So it's the same kind of stuff. It's just differently, handled differently. And I would say, really, people need to deal with their own business. So K9, if your friend is unhappy, then he needs to get out of that situation. But if he's perfectly happy with it, there's nothing wrong with it. Let's continue on here. See, he says, K9 says that, let's see. Well, MoBang says, Traveler, your friend is a gold mine for that family. He says, absolutely. He lives in Miami, and Miami's expensive. Now, he has a 25th floor condo overlooking Miami Beach. Your friend's doing very well. Her family will never need anything. He plans to retire in Thailand in 8 years. Here's the clincher, the magic. See? K9 says he's planning on retiring in Thailand. The fact that he's married a Thai wife means he can move there as a Thai spouse, and the government will let him stay there. So it works two ways. Because unlike the foreigners trying to get in, he's already established himself. And the fact that he has a lot of money, and he's shown that he has the money, and he's spending it in Thailand or on Thai people, the government will be more than open to having him there living as a Thai. Now, do you understand? So is he buying his way? Sort of, but not really. Because honestly, if your friend is using money to basically make the quality of his life better and the people around him better, then he's not losing it. You know, he's going to die. What's he going to do with it? He's using it while the people are still alive. He's making sure that the parents are well taken care of. that his wife is happy, because if your wife is worried about her mother and her father. By the way, Asian kids, for the most part, are more heavily connected to their parents, their mothers especially. But their mothers and fathers are highly respected by the Asian kids. So if the Asian child, even though they're grown up, feels that their parents are suffering and stuff, they are going to suffer. So if you're a spouse to an Asian and their family is hurting, you got to understand how important family is there. I know in Western culture it is important and stuff, but in Western culture, and some Westerners get really angry at me for this if I say this, but it is the truth. And I always try to speak the truth on here. In Western culture, your mother and your father, when they get older, in a lot of Western families, you put them into a nursing home. But they did that to you when you were a child. They put you into daycare. Do you see the difference? In Asia, typically you don't put a kid in daycare when they're young. You take care of them. The grandparents do. And then when you are old, your kids, they don't put you in a nursing home. They bring you to their house and you live with them. And you help babysit the young babies, the kids. So the nucleus family in Thailand is still kind of intact, in Asia. I don't know. Well, as far as I know, I haven't been there. Okay? So I might go there and say, holy schmoly, Thailand's Americanized, which would make me very sad. Okay? Because I believe there's value in having a grandparent taking care of your kid, and there's value in having your children that you raised take care of you when you're grown up. Instead of you being in a nursing home, in a wheelchair somewhere, falling over, and everybody just ignores you. They just leave you there, laying there. How do I know? I went into some and I saw them like that. So, that's the difference in the cultures. And your friend doing that, he's investing in his future. He can retire in Thailand. The family are going to want him there because he continues to get his retirement. They are living very well. He's living very well. His wife is very happy. His wife will make him happy. Let's continue on. Bradley says 49% divorce rate for the first marriage in the U.S. Divorce rate for people in their second marriage is around 70%. I think that rate varies. I think Florida, first-time marriage is like 70%, and second marriage and later is like 99%. I know this because I had to go through the divorce. When you get divorced here, at least in Florida, they make you take the divorce class and stuff. So I had to go through all that. It's like, holy schmoly. The number, they said like Florida is like 70 or more percent first-time marriage. Let's continue on here. Hey, Kosal, Sawatdee Kap. So K9 says his friend spent time in I can't even say that. Afghanistan and Iraq getting hazard pay. Yeah, your friend is like set. Okay, he's gonna retire very well off, and if he's living in Thailand, he's almost like a billionaire. Multiply what he has by current exchange rate, multiply it by 30. Idoje says he wasn't calling me sexist. Now, I know you're not calling me sexist, but a lot of the women will. And, it's okay. I do apologize to the my American or Western women watching this, but I'm speaking openly, okay? So the mindset and stuff, and how... I see, for me, it's kind of interesting because I have the mindset of both Asian and American men. I'm an Asian guy, but I also grew up with America and American men. So I get kind of insight into both, and I see it's funny being an Asian. Any Asian will tell you this, and any American or Caucasian guy who has Asian friends, a lot of the Caucasians who hang out with Asians, they either were Asian in another life or want to be Asians. So they have a huge interest in Asians and Asian culture and Asian women and stuff like that. I had a friend who was into Taekwondo, and he was really into this, and he ended up marrying. I should have warned him. He married a Thai girl. who was Americanized. The marriage didn't last, and he got to see. He was always like, this is what he was picturing. Okay, he was picturing a submissive Thai girl. Okay, except he married a Thai girl who grew up in America. So she wasn't submissive. Okay, she was Americanized. So she was like an American woman. But here's the thing. Okay, and oh man, I know I'm gonna get a really huge amount of flack on this. Okay, you know how they say, I'm gonna try to do it in such a way that hopefully the women don't hate me. But they say women are from men are from Mars, women are from Venus, because it shows you the different thinking and how men and women are, you know, in America. That's what Westerners say. Westerners say men are from Mars, women are from Venus. But here's the thing: the girl was Thai and American, so she was kind of raised, she's Americanized. But Thai women, they're like crazy when they get mad. Like, American women are tame compared to Thai women. If you've ever had a Thai girlfriend or a Thai wife really get mad at you, if you've ever had a Thai woman or a Thai wife get angry at you, then you know what I'm talking about. But multiply American women anger, you know, we're talking normal ones, not psycho ones. But American women, for the most part, don't always go psycho when they get angry, although some do. You can hear songs in America about the women taking a baseball bat and beating the car, you know, up to bits and stuff. So, but Thai women are even worse than that, okay? That's just my little warning for you. So if you marry an Asian spouse and you bring them to America, they're going to become Americanized, but they'll also have the Thai or the Asian anger, which can occur. And if you're in Asia, it could be bad there too. So how do you learn all this stuff? Hang out with Thai guys, hang out with Korean guys, hang out with Japanese guys, whatever culture you're trying to marry. Do not presume that the Japanese and the Korean and the Vietnamese culture is exactly the same as the Thai culture. It's not. It'd be like me saying, hey, you're American, I'm going to go talk to a German dude and see how things are and how the women there are and apply it to an American woman. Okay? You were all Westerners, but you're not the same. Different countries have different cultures. So if you want to marry an Asian, there's a difference between a Japanese Asian, a Korean Asian, a Thai Asian, and a whatever Asians, or, you know, basically the country you're trying to get involved with, that's the country you need to learn. So don't presume that because you know how Koreans are, that you know how the Vietnamese are, because they're not the same. Mark Weems. Yeah, Mark Weems passes for Thai. He's half Thai. He's the one I follow. Hey, NH Libra. Thank you for coming back. You know, you are one of the heroes of this channel. For those of you who don't know NH Libra, okay? She's been an old friend from this channel that doesn't necessarily always agree with me on stuff, but she's been there in the back trying to help behind the scenes, help me through the rough days when I was actually, you know, in the van with pretty much $3 to my pocket, and helped me to survive to this point. And has been there on and off in the background just to check up on me and stuff. So I do appreciate it. She is one of the channel heroes, one of the originals, one of the people that was there when there wasn't even really much of a channel. So, NH, thank you so much for being there. We are nearly at the end, and I don't think I would have made it here without all the people like you that have cared for me as strangers and reached out. And I say that truly from the bottom of my heart. I've had men and women reach out with compassion and kindness, and I'm hoping that, you know, if I actually do make it to Thailand even before then, I'm trying to do things to pay back, you know, which is why the pay it forward, and I'll be working on that again to bring it back. But some of the stuff I'm going to be setting up is actually to try to help viewers of this channel who were there for me when I needed help. And, you know, it has to do with international relationships and possibly moving overseas if that's what you end up wanting to do. Let me scroll on through here. Bradley says Mark Weens. I do suggest people follow Mark Weens if they want to learn about cultures, especially Thai culture. But he's a world traveler, and he shows you, if you watch his earlier videos. I think he went to Thailand as an English teacher, but then he decided he just wanted to stay there. But his wife is also Thai. He's his parents, I think, half Thai and half American. So, but Mark Weems is more fluent in Thai than I am, which makes me a little bit embarrassed because he looks more white than I do because I don't really have any white in me. At least not enough to make me have any white traits or Caucasian traits, European traits. But Mark Weems is very fluent in Thai, very fluent in English. He can read and write Thai, and he blends in with the Thai people. But not only does he blend in with the Thai people, when he goes to the mountain villages and stuff, he learns their languages and cultures. And he also meets up and sometimes travels to Islamic countries, Middle East. He travels to Korea. He travels to the United States. I think he even went out to eat in, Tijuana, I guess? Is it Tijuana? Where's that place in Mexico near California? But he also did Florida and, went to different places in Florida. He has a dream life. He's got several channels, and he's like, can show you what a successful YouTuber looks like and behaves like. But his channels have always been very positive, and what he does is he tries to gap the culture. Because, see, I had a lot of preconceived notions, too, about Middle Easterners and, Islamic people and Muslims and stuff. But there were some episodes on there where he was hanging out with Muslims that have moved to Thailand. So there's Muslims in Thailand. And, I would have been afraid of them to an extent because, even though Thailand's open to all religions and stuff, like Buddhism is the normal. Everyone there's Buddhist. Everyone in Thailand is Buddhist, okay? But they have Christians there. They have Islamics there. They have everything there, okay? Jews. Everything is in Thailand. And it's all accepted. But when I see people with I guess they got the hijab or whatever the thing they wear on their head, I kind of freak out a little bit because to me it's foreign, it's different, I don't really know too many people from those cultures. So it was nice to watch Mark Weems go visit the families that were Muslims who have immigrated to Thailand. And some of them have been there like 30 years, so they're pretty much Thai, but they're still Muslim. They still have the Muslim customs. They still wear the hijab or whatever you call that. And it was interesting to watch him and talk to them, talking to them and stuff. They speak Thai fluently. They have basically become Thai, even though they're Muslims. But that's what I'm saying. If you really are interested in moving overseas, you really want to study the culture and see if you can actually become them. Because if you can't become them, then you got to accept that you're going to be a foreigner living there, which isn't bad, but it's not as good as becoming them. Like those Muslim people would have been, they've been there like 30 years. They're pretty much Thai. But if I had seen them on the streets or whether with a hijab or whatever, I would have been afraid of them a little bit. But now that I've seen Mark Weems talking to them and stuff, I'm like, me, and they actually speak Thai, and they actually, I think the wife was Thai and stuff. I'm like, okay, maybe my prejudice, my preconceived. You got to remember, I'm Americanized. I was in the United States military, and we were blowing up Middle Easterners. Yeah, it's sad. It's not exactly something you say you're proud of, but I have to do that to protect this nation and the interests of the United States, which causes a lot of hate and anger from people of that culture. So I can understand that too. But at the same time, they were doing stuff that was against the interests of the United States. So, I'm kind of in some ways glad to not be in the military. But if I had to defend the United States, I would still do it again. But at the same time, I would feel sad, which I did even then, because I knew that, it's people that we're actually going against. All because of politics. We're talking world politics. But watching a show like Mark Weems and some of the others where they travel, like I said, there's that other guy. I maybe should get some of these channels and talk to you guys if you guys want to follow along with me. But he's kind of an annoying guy. I think he's American. Really annoying to me. But, he's the one that's in Vietnam. And I was like, maybe he's not as annoying. He just seemed annoying on that one episode. But the culture and when I watch the respect. See, that for me is the big thing is, being Asian. Is respect. I watch how foreigners, when I say foreigners, I mean like Westerners, behave in Thailand or Vietnam or Japan or Korea. And the people that show respect to those customs and cultures, I know are going to be successful in life because they understand that when you're in another country, that those cultures and the customs and stuff is important. And it's important that you respect them for those cultures, even if your culture doesn't see things or view things in exactly the same way. And that's what Mark Williams was doing with the Muslims and some of the other cultures he was visiting, whether they were in Thailand or in, I think he went to Turkey or Pakistan or whatever. But when he's there in their country, he respects them. When they're in our country or in, like in Thailand or whatever, he still respected them. But see, they were also showing respect for the Thai culture and stuff. So respect goes two ways. And H says, Udoji says, how has your phone lasted for the stream? I ended up plugging it into the power outlet because it was down to 15%. NH Libra says, they had Dowry here too many years ago. The social engineers that have manipulated our culture have destroyed many traditions, and now we have a multicultural, so there are many styles. Yeah, and that's the problem, NH Libra. The problem is this, okay? There are some people who still like tradition. And I'm talking about Americans, I'm talking about Westerners. There are some men who still want to be manly, who still want to take care of the family, be the sole provider, even though it's harder in this country. They still want to be able to provide for the wife. But see, the problem is trying to match a wife that feels that she wants to stay home and take care of the children and maybe even massage the man's foot when he gets home from work. Finding a American woman willing to do that, to me, seems rare. Okay? I've had different girlfriends, and I've had Caucasian girlfriends. I've had African American girlfriends. I've had Eastern girlfriends. I've had Asian. Okay? Not really Asian. Well, I guess it can be Asian. I've also had European. Okay? And what I find is Europeans tend to be very similar to American in some ways. In other ways, not. But the European women, they are closer to the American women than the Eastern women, from the Asian cultures tend to be, or even South American, Central America women. Those cultures tend to be more similar to the Thai culture of the women willing to massage the man's foot. And for them, it's not an insult, it's normal. You understand what I'm saying? And for an American woman to do that, she might consider it below her. And an American man may want that, which means his chance of success for finding an American woman that will willing to do that is very low. He may have to go overseas for that, if that's really important to him. He's talking about his buddy who's married to an Asian woman, I think Thai maybe. Yeah, Thai. He's 48 and his wife is 24 and beautiful. Oh my goodness. He has plenty of money. He has never said he's been taken advantage of. He's 48 and she's 24. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say about that, okay? If they are happy, they are both legal adults, okay? But he is 48 and she is 24. That's a huge age difference, okay? But here's my honest to goodness truth about relationships. Some people like to meddle with other people's choices, and relationships. I think it's really nobody else's business. If he's 48 and his wife is 24 and he wants a wife that's beautiful and she wants a husband that has lots of money or whatever and can take care of her family, everybody else needs to buzz off. It's nobody else's business. If they're happy and he's taking care of his business, he's taking care of his wife and her family and everything else, and her mom and dad, who are probably the same age as him or maybe a little bit older, are happy with it, everyone else needs to just leave them alone, okay? They're not bothering anyone. They're living their life. They are, I would say, living like God intended. They're happy. As long as they're not doing anything illegal, they're they're happy, and I would be happy for them. Now, with that out of the way, I would generally say, for the most part, if you're marrying a wife who's half your age, roughly, okay, she either more than likely needs someone to take care of her and potentially her family. Whether or not she truly loves you, that remains to be seen, okay? But if you're both happy, it's nobody else's business. But if she leaves you, it's because, well, I don't know, relationships, age could be one of the factors. But they could also have to do with maturity levels and generational gaps. But in his case, he's got a generational gap with a ethnic gap, so that makes it complicated. But I will say this, if they're happy, that's all that really matters. And if your friend is happy, kudos to him. And if she's happy with him, kudos to her. See, MoBang says, treat a man like a king and he will give you his whole life. But here's the thing, MoBang, and this is where the problem occurs, okay, with Westerners. And they get stories that I think get distorted, and sometimes I think people distort stories about foreign men, okay? And it may be true in certain cultures, I don't know, okay? I only know with respect to me. But for the most part, I've always been taught in Thailand and stuff to respect, because you respect your mother, the women. So for the most part, I think Asian men treat women with high respect. And how they treat women with high respect is this. Like, if I have a wife, I don't really expect my wife to work, okay? I expect her to take care of her fully, which I'm planning on doing even though I'm in this situation. So, it's a cultural thing. It has to do with being a man and being honorable. So, I try to treat my wife with a huge amount of respect, and I don't really control her, okay? I don't try to tell her what to do and all that. But if she does all these things, if she massages me and does all these things, that's on free will. That's her choice. Because she's trying to treat me like a king because I'm trying to treat her like a queen. And it turns out that if you can do that even as an American, as a Caucasian couple, you're going to have a good marriage. It's mutual respect. It's when people start demanding and saying, well, this is the way it's got to be. But see, they're not even doing what makes them happy. They're trying to do what society or culture, as NH Libra says, that, the powers that be have been shaping people's attitudes. And if they're trying to live to do what society is saying they should do, or a certain segment of society, that's when they find unhappiness. I think your friend, talking to the guy that has a friend who's 48 and the wife is only 24, if they're happy and stuff, ignore society. You're happy, you're legal, ignore all the other crap. All they're going to try to do is destroy your happiness. And H. Libra says, I think Filipino women are pretty special. I went to a lot of nurses that are Filipino, some of the nicest people I've ever met. NH Libra, Filipinos are very similar to Thai people. Okay, I can't even tell them apart. I have to ask them if they're Thai or Filipino. But the culture is very similar, and you may be just lucky that you met a lot of nice Filipino women. I don't know. I haven't really met any bad ones either. But, I think culturally and stuff like that, it's important if you meet people from other countries and you get to know them, because that's how you learn cultures. It's like I'm starting to learn a little bit about Muslims and stuff through Mark Weems. Believe it or not, it's weird. I'm learning about Muslims through American Thai who's living in Thailand, which is kind of crazy. But the reason is I've noticed quite a few Muslims are in Thailand, at least on the videos that I've seen. I see the women in the hijabs or whatever they call them. So I want to make sure I know them and that I interact appropriately. And from what I can tell, the Muslims have been accepted in Thailand, in Thai society, and they seem to be integrating themselves. Like, they're coming and they're not saying, I'm Muslim and this is how the Thai people need to behave. They're coming to Thailand and they're integrating themselves into the Thai way of life. Even though they're staying Muslim, they are now Thai, if you understand what I'm saying. They're not disrespecting Thailand and the Thai culture. Timothy says, marry one and you will see the tiger in her, to NH Libra about the Filipino women. I think it's true of a lot of the what you see as submissive. See, American people see the Asian women as submissive. They have never seen an angry Thai woman. I don't know about Filipinos, but angry Thai women have been known to chase men with a meat cleaver to cut his thing off. Okay? And I can tell you some funny, I think I might have told it in the past, funny stories about my stepdad and my mother and the big chase through Korat. It was talked about for years down the road. The time my mother chased my stepfather with the meat cleaver because he was cheating on her. Maybe I'll tell it right now. I'll do the short version. Long story short, back during the Vietnam War, there was a lot of American soldiers in Thailand, and they had the pick of what, that's how the whole industry, the whole red light district got formed and stuff. But, that's a whole nother talking topic here. But long story short, the soldiers would get a lot of women from Thailand, for adult activities. And the American soldiers were popular because they had a lot of money, US dollars, translated to, at the time, 24 to 28 Thai bahts. So an American was fairly rich in Thailand, which meant he could pick almost any girl. And most of the girls that they would pick were the workers. Okay? And, my dad had my mother as his girlfriend. But because he was an American guy, there were other Thai girls that wanted him too. So there's this competition because everybody wants to grab the farang. Everyone wants the farang to marry them and whisk them away to America. That's a dream of everybody. So anyhow, she heard he was cheating. She caught him cheating on her. And Thai women, and it's almost like, even though it's kind of illegal, but it's kind of accepted, that if a Thai guy cheats on his girlfriend or his wife, she can cut off his weenie. And you sometimes hear about it with, I don't know, with Bobette or whatever. I think I don't know if his wife was Filipino. I don't remember. But basically in Asia, a guy that's not faithful can pay for it with his manhood. And so she found out about it and picked up this big, huge, giant cleaver and was literally chasing him through the whole city. He was like running away from her, She tracked him down, I think, to the girlfriend's place where he was with the girlfriend, I think he was with the girlfriend at her place. She tracked him down there, beat up the girlfriend, then went after him. So then he was running away the whole time. And she was chasing him with a meat cleaver. So, I don't even imagine that. And back then, they would ride like the little trikes, the little pedal tricycles. So imagine a chase happening on the three-wheel tricycles where they sit in the back and the guy's like pedaling to get away, and my mom's on another one behind chasing. So it's like the cab scenes in the American movies where they're chasing each other. So then he's got to get out of there. So he hops off that thing, gets on a bus, because they have the transporters, the buses. Hops on the bus. She's trying to get the bus, misses that bus, got to catch another bus, trying to figure out where he's going next. And so he's running around Korat, the whole village, the whole city, hiding from her. And she's tracking, going to his friends, going to all the different friends' house. Because, they didn't have cell phones back then. You can just pick up a phone and call. So she would have to physically track him down. And this went on for like the whole day. And it turned out that he ran around, and after a while he decided the safest spot for him was to get back on the base. So remember, he was a military soldier. So he went to the base and had to tell the security guard. I don't know how the conversation went, but I can imagine it went something like this. Do not let my girlfriend in. You can spot her because she's carrying a meat cleaver. Because she had an ID, to get into the base. So, anyhow, my mom tracked him all the way down to the base, to the gate, and the MPs stopped her. It took like 2 or 3 MPs. She's waving the meat cleaver. And back then, the police don't automatically, especially military police, don't automatically shoot you, okay? Even though you got a meat cleaver and stuff. They're laughing. They know the whole story. The whole village, the whole city knows the story. Because it took place across the entire city, and my mom was screaming and chasing him with the knife. And everybody watching the scene knew what happened. Without anything other than they saw her screaming and running with the meat cleaver and him running away, they knew what was up. So, that was an ongoing story, and that's what happened over there. And H. Libra says, there were a lot more people that have done more than her for me in living in a van. Yeah, but see, here's the thing, H. Libra, no matter what little thing that was done, and some people have done, I'm not talking about just donations and things like that, I'm talking about people who show support. The people that are talking right now that aren't too judgmental, I know everyone comes in with a preconceived judgment and stuff, but the people that have been there that have encouraged, there are some people that, don't do it in the open. They are actually silent supporters. Did you know, I'm going to tell some stuff that I won't give names and stuff, but there were men on here who went through something similar to me, like nasty divorce and really messed up courts and stuff like that, that would email me personally with tips to try to circumvent systems and stuff. Like, I didn't take those circumventions and stuff, like child support, I always paid it and stuff, but they were trying to help me in their way, which I can understand from their end, because they're basically a guy trying to protect another guy. There's a thing called a bro code, brotherhood, that men have. And it's even deeper if you're military. If you were military, there's an automatic brotherhood that occurs. But in America, for the most part, American guys kind of grow up with a brotherhood. It starts from the locker room, which is kind of